Welcome to Chronic Curiosity, where we have real conversations with real people, from everything to anything, in attempts to facilitate dialogue with our fellow humans, and hopefully your curiosity as well as ours. If you can withstand the show, we ask, most importantly, that you tell your friends and family, but also you can pick up some merch or just donate to the show at chronic-curiosity.com in USD or Bitcoin. If you feel so obliged, you can give us a good rating and follow on whatever podcast platform you so choose. But please feel free to reach out to us on the website or the socials, which can also be found on the website, chronic-curiosity.com. And here we go.
Watching
That-
it, do it, sell it,
Yeah.
done, out.
Because it doesn't necessarily mean anything.
No.
It doesn't really do anything.
Just like Doge. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've had the conversation. I'm gonna turn my fucking phone on. How rude. With a lot of people about the difference between Bitcoin and other things. And just because people lump it, like Bitcoin, everything into a cryptocurrency doesn't mean that. What? You just can't take your eyes off the mustache? Is that what's happening?
I'm just waiting for Tony to say, where were you on the night of October 26th?
He looks good.
Appreciate that.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, are we actually recording?
I mean, we can if we rate it.
okay,
start
that's
with-
fine. I was gonna say you might want to pull the mic up there a little
Yeah,
bit.
if
but
when you record,
there
so
we
you
go.
want to kind of keep it like about a hand's width away from your face or so, and you can hear like as you get closer, you can hear it in your head.
Yeah.
This width? Or
I mean,
this width?
Either
Fist.
way, you just want to talk
There
right
you
in the
go.
top of it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Into the top.
Ooh, see how clear. Nice.
that good?
Yeah,
that's
it's
very
good. You got a
good.
nice
That's
one.
very
Nice.
good.
Yeah.
So, and you might want to introduce
Oh, dude,
Caleb
that's
as well.
dope.
No, what you like
That painting up there, that's cool.
the cat?
Yeah,
that's
what
my Schrodinger cat.
Did you do it?
No, absolutely not.
Next time, say yes.
No, I'm not that good. No, it's just like a printed thing. But it's the Schrodinger's cat. You've heard of.
No, yeah. I know
Yeah.
what it is. I just
I'll
have
to
never
get you,
seen the
I'll have to
painting.
get you a shirt too.
Yeah.
I have them up here.
No, and then I'll get you a shirt.
But it is a pretty cool. Little,
It's really cool down here, man. I haven't seen this place this together, I don't think. Pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, if the table wasn't here, then
The table was not here. I think it was a white one or just a regular fold-out table or
Yeah.
something at that point. This is awesome.
So there's been some changes since you've been here last. So welcome, Mr. Caleb.
Oh, thank
Caleb
you.
Stoll, raw tree service.
Yes.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, I don't know if we go that route. I think that guy's sitting over there.
No.
The myth
Oh,
for
stop
sure.
it.
Yeah, look at that.
Stop
thing.
it.
Stop.
You don't rock that stash and not be the legend, man.
I don't know
And the
about
hat,
that.
and the stash are just like, it's like an avatar like profile. Like if you're like playing like a video game or like you're making an avatar or something, it's just like a setting. It's
Yeah.
like,
Marlboro Man.
yeah,
You got to do one of those where you like stand up like the video games, like choose your character,
yeah,
and then just have all your different faces.
you're Arkansas cowboy.
Yeah.
Is that? Do you think that's fitting, an Arkansas cowboy?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Because it's not quite Texan.
Tone,
Texan
I
would
think
be-
you need to lift your chin up so everyone can see
Because
you.
your hat's too shaded.
There it is.
There.
There we go.
I
Thank
feel
you,
like we need
sir.
to get Dustin on.
Oh, with
And,
his
yeah,
stash.
Dueling
His stash, he
stashes.
had for a while. He was
Was
going
curling
like,
it?
and it was like curling and like he turned
That takes a lot of work, man. Like
Yeah.
you got to be on that.
I initially shaved mine like that. Like, dude, it was bigger than this.
You
Like, I
cut
didn't,
it down.
I didn't realize
Oh.
how like
Oh.
small my face was until I shaved everything off. Like, dude, it was even bigger, and I was like, "That's too big."
You had to trim it
It's
down.
weird.
too
I don't know
big.
that I've ever seen your face.
Yeah, not a lot of people.
I've
have.
seen it a couple times.
Yeah, you've
Yeah,
seen me
it's-
like pretty like stubble, I guess.
Yeah.
Pretty clean, like almost.
Well, I had
shaven.
to for that. I put up a. Who was it? Chad was on the one
Oh,
week, and he said
gosh.
something about him being a Giga
Giga
Chad. I don't know
Chad.
if you've seen that meme. It's like a Giga Chad, and this guy just has just like he's. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but
He
he
looks
would-
like a real doucher. And then they put a picture of me up that looked like a real doucher next to him. too,
yeah, I had to
so-
go back to your Facebook pictures for like I don't know. It was probably like 8 years.
Yeah,
ago.
it was an old one.
And he was like almost clean
Short hair,
shaven.
almost clean shaven.
Yeah.
So are you leaving the 5 o'clock? You're not going just full stash?
I'll probably take it down. So it steps.
Yeah.
Steps.
Scared, huh?
Yeah,
Scary.
yeah.
It's a scary feeling.
To take the beard off, I was like, "Whoo!" And I did it on a whim too. I was like, you know what? Today seems like a good day to rock a mustache.
And you have to do it when you're thinking about it.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
if you're thinking about it, you got to do it then, or you'll never do it.
Oh yeah.
It'll
takes-
set in. You'll be like, and then you'll question it, and then it never happens.
Yeah, I feel like this stash too kind of pays homage to my pops. So my dad had a hellacious stash. It was a straight up like Sam Elliott, Tom Selleck stash.
Nice,
And,
Sam Elliott.
Yeah, he got cancer and he made it through it, but he had to shave everything off basically. So pops, his stash is for you.
Nice, nice tribute stash. I dig it.
You can't knock a tribute stash.
Nah, can't knock any stash, man. If you can rock a stash, then there's something to be said about you. I
something-
couldn't do it.
Yeah, there's something special about because people are like, oh, look at this guy can grow a beard.
Yeah.
Like, man, what a manly man can grow a beard. Yeah, but you can grow a beard without being able to grow a good stash. But if you can grow a good stash, I
Yeah.
feel like that's like
There's really something to that.
That's
Man.
the
I mean, look
pinnacle.
at Sam Elliott.
Oh yeah,
That's the legend right there.
that's a hell of a stash.
That's my G. Old Sam Elliott. Love that guy.
Oh,
I don't remember what. It's just so distracting.
It's very distracting, man. Like I don't know.
I just
that was literally yesterday. Like I was with Tyler at the bar, and he just would not stop staring. I was like, "Bro, are you all
well,
right?"
Tyler, does he even have like pubic hairs?
Bro, I have no idea about other men's pubic hairs.
No offense, Tyler, but he's very
Yeah, he's pretty.
He's pretty.
Clean
Pretty.
shaven. Yeah. Pretty.
He's
Pretty
pretty.
man.
He's pretty. Not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's very. I think there's a lot of people that'd be like, if you call Tyler pretty, they'd be like,
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah, it's a pretty guy.
So where are we going with this stash, man?
So where we go?
Where I mean, this is the beginning, but where are we going?
Yeah, we go on like a tour.
We
Oh,
going like
Taking on the road.
we'll see.
Yeah.
To be determined.
I think you would have looked real good with the Fu Manchu.
So I had it first.
Was it just too?
You got to
too
play around
much?
before
Bro,
you.
I don't think you understand how much like.
No,
hair
I
was
remember
actually there.
your beard is massive.
Well,
Like-
just here there was just so much, and I was like, "Oh, I can't do that. That's ridiculous."
I was so jazzed to see your beard, man. I'm like, I haven't seen Tony in forever.
yeah,
His beard was getting nice and full.
you
yeah.
got a special treat.
You tricked
Yeah,
me
you
up with
got
the stash, man.
Yeah, I said to Fred, I said, "Hey," because you said something. The one day I feel like you were like, "Hey, something about a mustache," and I'm like, "Dude, I can grow a pretty sweet stash." And you're like, "Eh." And I was like, "Bro, I'm telling you, I can grow a pretty
Your
sweet
beard
stash."
just outshines it.
Yeah.
Until
And then I said,
Wow.
"You know what?" I said, "I'm gonna rock a stash and a cowboy hat sometime." And you said, "I'm gonna hold you to that."
And here we are.
Documented. So you even got a special treatment because how many people are going to be able to see this stash in person?
Depends on how long I keep it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the question.
Minimum numbers. I'm gonna say. You gonna wear that to work this week?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, at least once. At least this one.
100%, yeah.
Clean shaven or like that?
Oh, I'll probably shave her down a little bit more.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, clean it straight up, man.
yeah.
Got a full stash.
Oh yeah, just glorious.
As yours looks like it's trimmed up because I feel like I saw a picture of you semi recently and it was pretty out of control.
My beard?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yours, I feel like gets out of control real quick.
It does. And I shave it down usually, well, once it gets so long, my wife doesn't like it. And so I let it go. And then when I shave it down, she gets all excited. So once a year, around her birthday, I usually knock it down. But that's the
That's what I'm
time
saying,
when.
once you stop getting some, you're like, all right,
Time to clean
the beard
now
up.
it's time to gotta do something different here, you know?
That's awesome.
That's night and day, man. You could have a full on argument, you shave the beard off, and it's like nothing ever happened. It's great. It's a good tool to just keep back
That's
there,
not
you
a
know.
bad
Like,
idea. It's like that ace in your pocket.
yeah,
Ace up the sleeve.
100%, man.
It's
Yeah,
like, all I gotta do is get rid of at least most of this.
it kind of
it'll
makes
be
you
like-
rethink your actions too, because you're like, maybe I should be nice, because I really don't want to shave my beard off. We'll just keep this thing kosher, you know.
That's
And then when you slip up, it's like, damn it, now
gotta
the
shave
beard's
the
gotta
beard.
go. You know,
At least I grew it out.
30 seconds. You know, you shave off 8 months. You know,
Yeah.
that's a big risk. But I get tired of it too. You know, it gets to be like, and then customers and stuff, I start to feel unprofessional. And this is a good length. I like
Yeah,
this
that's
length. I
good.
can
It's nice
maintain
and
it at
clean
this
and tidy.
length. Yeah, my kids got me a beard straightener for Christmas.
Oh, it's like Is it
It's
just
a
like one of those,
comb.
like brush things?
Yeah, but it's a
Work
heater.
pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Does it work with like steam or how does that?
It's just like a regular like flat iron for like a straightener for girls or whatever, but it's a comb and the irons are kind of like laid in the comb,
I got you.
and then you just brush through it, and it feels really nice, especially in the wintertime when it's cold and you get out of the shower. It feels so nice.
So I've seen the
Nice.
advertisements, but I'm always like, does that really work?
You know what? If it doesn't work, it feels really good.
It looks. I mean, well, I was gonna say your beard looks extremely kept.
Yeah, it looks good, man.
Yeah, I did some maintenance this morning. It's like, I haven't seen Fred in a year. Got to clean up. And then obviously you had the same thing too. You're like, I haven't seen Fred since last week, so I should probably,
Make it
rock
look
the
nice.
stash. I respect it.
Yeah, because I only grow mine once a year, and I had mine far enough, and then I got sick, and I was like blowing my nose, and it's like,
Oh, bro.
yeah, I was like, oh, I remember. Well, I think that's I told Tony, I was like, I can tell I haven't been sick for a couple years because I grow my beard out usually every once a year, like during the winter, like I'll grow it until it gets too bad, then it's like, all right. But I know it's like I haven't been sick in a long time because I'd remember pulling all this fucking snot out of my mustache.
That's you're gonna have that issue, man. Don't get sick. That's all I can say.
But there is a positive. So if you're sipping bourbon,
Get
you drink it and then hit
You
the
get
stash and you get a
best out of
secondary taste.
Well, they don't call it the flavor
Flavor saver for nothing, yeah.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
yeah.
You grow a tremendous beard, though. I've seen
I don't
times
know
where your
if it's
beard has gotten
tremendous.
like, yeah, it gets really nice, man. Right when it starts to get like full shape, you get rid of it.
That's true. That's basically what happens.
Yeah, but it's a fantastic beard.
His wife also gives him more
When I
when
don't have
the beard is trimmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I realized so the first time a couple years ago, I was like, oh my god, like I grew a beard, and I was like, man, like this is nice. Like I'm getting a nice beard.
Yeah.
And then but you always have like Tony sitting beside me. That's like, okay, so it's not that nice, but it's decent. It's a good beard. It's a good beard. And then we had Craig Noletti and the Bearded Butchers on.
Tall, but yeah.
And it's like, fuck, I just gotta go shave this thing right now because this is an embarrassment.
Just a Viking.
Yeah, because they're both of the Bearded Butchers have like good solid beards, like probably 10 inches long. Like,
Oh, yeah.
And then Craig's beard is like 1.5 feet long, and it's like this just monstrosity. It's like it's a creature on his face.
It's awesome.
But
Yeah,
they had to start somewhere. I mean, having a beard is a lot of work.
Yeah, but
when I first wanted a beard, I actually Googled how to grow a beard. When I was like 17, 18 years old.
How
and
do I grow more hair out of my face?
I'm serious, man. Like I Googled how to grow a beard so that it would come in, fuller and
Yeah.
the way you want it to go. I mean, you see girls with their hair, man. I mean, it's a real thing. Like you got to put time into it. It's a thing. So do you like that length the best? Or do you like no beard?
Right now. Yeah.
Cass?
It's a
I haven't trimmed it up, so it's
so I don't mind a beard if it's like it could be fuller than this, but if it's gonna be this length, it should probably be a little shorter. Like it should actually be stubble because right now he's kind of in between like stubble but when it's like nice and kept, when it starts to make his face look like his chin is like 4 inches longer and it changes the shape of his face, I'm like,
chin.
Oh, see that must be. That's
what it
like
is.
my wife's favorite length is right there. We call it wedding length because that's how
Wedding length.
Yeah, that's how long it was when we got married. So she's always like, cut it. You need to cut it down to wedding length. I want it to be wedding length. So that's the length we go, and that's what she really likes. But I get what you're saying. Like if you lose the shape of his face, it kind of takes away from him. I like it though.
I haven't
I
kept
like
it
my
up
beard.
clean either. But that's what's like, guys. I grow a beard, and then she's like, oh, and then I would like take it down, like not like shave it. It's because I
Wedding
don't like shaving, but like take it down like with a buzzer, like as close as it gets. So it's basically it's like a 2 days after you shave. She's like, oh,
Like
you
a 6 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, she's like, you shaved your beard. I said, no, I didn't. I just trimmed it off. She's like, yeah, but there's nothing there. I'm like, well, what do you want from me? You either want the beard or not. Like, what? Like, but now it's the in between.
I want the beard how I want the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm picturing like a graph that has like it's like a commensurate proportionality to like sex and beard length.
Yeah, it's kind of like similar to a
Twice a week.
the
Once a month.
Yeah, the crazy hot girl matrix.
That's what I was literally thinking that before. So
I can see that. Well, because it's just there's so much stuff when you get a real giant. I don't know. I appreciate a good beard as much as anybody, but
I do, but it is a
sometimes
lot of work, man.
yeah.
Like Mine even gets to the point where I get tired of picking food out of it, or
Yeah.
you're trying to eat and your mustache gets into your mouth like this. I have this weird, like, when it grows down the sides, it gets super, like, I could grow like full on, like,
Yeah.
this stuff gets long. Then you try to eat something and it's always just
Yeah.
like, and then I get tired of that, and that's another reason why it comes down. But this length, I think I'm just gonna stay right here for a while.
Looks good.
Well,
Rock
it does
it.
look good.
Yeah. Maybe that's
Thanks,
why
man.
the
I appreciate
mustache is like the epitome of like manliness, because you got to have a lot of like, because that's the worst.
Yeah.
Is having a long mustache.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because it goes in your, like, last time you get hair in your mouth, and you try to live with that. Like,
Oh, the worst is when you're trying to drink something out of a can and those mustache hairs get caught in the tab.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like down here and getting caught in your zipper. Like when they get really
Oh, yeah.
wrong down here, if you have a jacket on or something, or it snags on like the edge of your coat. Those hurt so bad. Yeah,
It's like when your foreskin gets caught in your zipper. It's no good.
yeah, it's no bueno.
It's like, what?
That's not even fun to say because everybody feels it. As soon as you say that, you're like, oh,
Jesus, bro, how floppy is your foreskin?
Well, I'm never mind.
it happens. You can't say it doesn't happen.
It happens
Don't
on
know that-
movies.
I
At
don't know that
least.
I've ever got my foreskin caught in the zipper.
I don't know if I have either, but it's fun to say.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's fun to talk about.
Oh, shoot.
Wait till you get to this stage where you got to do the whole pushback before you put food in your mouth. You see the guys do that with the long beards.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, too much work. But speaking of work,
That's what I was going to say. Good transition.
yeah.
Man. I want to hear about
Speaking of work, if you could, we usually don't get this strict, but tell the people like how you went from, because we obviously we've talked about, if you listen to the show, we are a weird collection of tree guys. Somehow we know a lot, like different companies, and obviously Tony started out Rogue. He's told his story before, and we've had Corey on that talks about tree business, and I worked with Corey before at a different company that did tree work, and we worked together at different entities doing tree work and all those things. And long story short, you had kind of done tree work, and anybody that doesn't know, it's not an easy job to do. It's fucking man's work. I'm sorry. It just is. Like, there's a lot of females that do it, and they can do it. I'm not saying they can't, but there's not a lot of like 6'4", 230-pound women throwing logs around.
No, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's a lot of good tree guys, these tall,
because they're in
strong.
the WNBA, Fred.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean by it's man's work. It's not that females can't do it, because I've seen female climbers. I've seen them do it, and they can do it well. But there's not a lot of them, and there's not a lot of like just those big burly guys throwing heavy chainsaws out in the middle of nowhere. Like, sorry, that are girls. There's not a lot of big.
gotcha.
There's not a lot of big, strong girls that
Yeah.
are throwing chainsaws around out in the middle of the woods, getting dirty, cutting trees down, climbing trees, getting in the buckets, chipping, and like throwing firewood and stuff around.
If you look at the majority of treeple, they're skinny, lanky people like me. Like they're not usually like. Rogue is its own breed,
Well, that's
and I respect Rogue to no end. But those dudes are animals.
okay. So how about this? There's not a lot of females that I have seen that are willing to go out and work those hard, laborious positions. I've seen them for sure. Road work, they're out there.
They exist.
But just statistically, it's more of a guy's job to go out, do that hard work, get dirty, and work hard. Like, it's not easy work. Like, it's not just like, oh, I worked hard today just because I was at work for 8 hours. Like, no, like I fucking worked hard today. So I don't mean to be sexist by saying it's a man's job. It just tends to where it gravitates. But regardless, how do you go from doing that kind of work, and then you had kind of moved into a forestry position that wasn't really all that hard of a work? And then how did you make that decision from where you're at now? From like starting there from, hey, I had a salary job that I didn't really have to work that hard, and decide to do what you're doing now. So like, how'd you get there? What are you doing now?
To be completely honest with you, I think a lot of it is my wife. In doing that job, and I liked the forestry job. I'm always looking for different things, you know that. But my wife said something to me one day, probably a year in or so. she said, I know you really like your job, but something about you is missing. Like you're just as good as you were, but something's just not there. And I was like, I'm bored. I'm a very like, I got to go do things, and that job, like I said, that job was great and the field work was nice and all that, but it's going out and watching people do something that you really enjoy doing was really hard. And, watching them do it and not being able to assist them do it or do it with them was difficult. And I really liked tree work. I've always liked it. It was an accident that I even fell into it. I needed a job and there I was. But yeah, I really enjoy it. And when you say, that it's hard work, I've never really looked at it that way. I mean, it is hard work, but to me, work is work. I guess you kind of have to take a step back and go, yeah, it is kind of hard work, But when you're in the midst of doing it and you enjoy doing anything you enjoy doing shouldn't be hard. To a point, I guess, maybe a mental hardness, but it shouldn't be hard. You do it because you like doing it. Working out's hard, but if you like doing it, it's not really that hard.
Right.
You have goals and parts of it are hard physically, but it's a good hard, So, I started to take that into consideration when she said something was missing. I was like, I miss climbing. I miss the work, I miss being with the guys and the forestry aspect of it is a lot of solo. It's a lot of alone time. It's a lot of, I like the camaraderie with the guys.
If there's one thing Caleb doesn't like, it's probably alone time.
Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, when it's appropriate, yeah, alone time's good. But no, I'm not a loner. I don't like to do things alone. And as a matter of fact, like even when I go sell work, I went out and sold work yesterday, and my wife and my daughter went with me because I'm not a loner. I don't like to be alone. But it's nice when you get there and talk with the customers and stuff like that. But yeah, anyways, getting back to what I was saying, I started thinking about it a little bit more. And then an opportunity just within that time period of her saying that came up. And I thought about it. And I was like, my brother always told me it's better to regret something you did than something you didn't do. So I was like, you know what? Sure, man, let's do it. This is just a job. If I need another job where, it's not as physically demanding or whatever, I can find it. Would I have the longevity, the retirement, and this, that, and the other? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I was like, it's getting back to making decent money. It's, back to doing tree work and doing things I like to do. Let's do it. So I ended up doing it, and a lot of things happened in between me making that transition. I did that for a few months, and then the guy that I had done it with kind of fell apart and went out on my own. So I've learned a lot in, the last couple months. There's a lot of things to business that you start to think back as remembering being an employee of why things were the way they were, why you got paid what you got paid, why, all these things, and starting a business and you see all the costs of things and you look at your employees that you want to pay well because, you can't do it without them.
Right.
But there's a lot of things that I found out that come with paying somebody more money. It also costs you more money, not just paying them, but on top of that with taxes and other things. So, yeah, it's definitely, it's different, but I like not just doing the tree work, but I like learning a business. I like the people that I've met throughout doing this have been phenomenal. I've had a lot of support in the area from other tree companies. I've had several other companies come out and help me on jobs, and that's what I like to see. And I've always been super involved with the industry and watching it evolve, and it should evolve to working together. I mean, there's so much work out there to go around that to go out there and try to beat each other up over a tree is like, this is dumb, dude. There's thousands, millions of trees.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this. There's a lot of trees out there.
Yeah, and you see, and there's a lot of tree companies. Right. I mean, everybody and their brother is starting a tree company. And I had somebody ask me the other day, what sets yourself apart from other tree companies? Because that's kind of, your customers want to hear that.
Yeah.
What makes you different? And I don't really know, at this point, honestly. And the only thing that I tell them is like, I don't know about the companies themselves, but me as a person, this is how I am. This is how I like to conduct my business. And, and that works. But to say what sets you apart, I'm really not sure. Now, with that being said, Rogue, when somebody says what sets you apart, literally you guys are the first thing that come to mind, because you have achieved that. You've shown that, you've branded that, that it's Rogue, and that they have a different breed of people, obviously. But that I respect about Rogue is that, and hopefully one day I can find my brand or my label to say what sets me apart from that. Not to be better, not to be worse, but to be different.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of change going on in the industry too. I think one of the biggest things that started setting companies apart, like Rogue, and obviously I haven't talked to any of your customers, so I don't know for sure. But like I can
Google.
imagine, I can imagine. But it's the professionalism that once was not connected to an industry, like it is starting to be connected to. Because a lot of times it's a joke that's like, oh, look, tree guys, like shirtless, teethless, maybe they got a chainsaw, they're doing some crazy shit, like, and they're just like, but we can't find anybody else crazy enough to cut this tree down for us, so all right, here you go, Billy Bob, whatever, like, go for it, try not to crush my house, that'd be preferable. But now it's like you see companies like Rogue and like Raw Tree out there, like, doing things professionally and cleanly and like respectfully, and it's like, oh wait, you guys are like a legit business now. Because a lot of times for a long
you're
time,
professionals.
Yeah, a lot of time it was like it wasn't a business, like that. There wasn't like an industry. It was, at least that's the way it seemed to me. Because I've been connected to it for over 10 years now, and you could see like in the last 10 years how much it has grown and changed to where it's like the private industry is the folks that are out there being professional and being courteous and like respectful and of people's property and them and the public. And it's like, it really sets those companies apart, because you can see every once in a while, I'll still drive down the road and I'll like see this like tree business or whatever, and they have like a ladder with like ropes tied to it, and they're like doing things. I'm like, man, that guy, probably going to see him in the paper tomorrow for killing himself. And it's like, or you talk to home.
And sometimes I feel like people see me that way, because I am starting out and I don't have like super nice equipment or anything like that. I feel like, but that also is good for me, because I don't have to, I stand by who I am and the work that I provide, and I'm not using my equipment or anything as an image.
Right.
So I'm building that up on my personality versus, oh, well, you have fancy trucks, so you must do a good job. And that's not always true.
Oh, that's, yeah, for sure.
Or they say you have fancy trucks, you must be expensive.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
that's another issue too that I've also heard of, and working at Edwards and stuff like that, they know the name, they see that, and they're like, oh, those guys have got to be outrageous, and that's not always the case.
Yeah.
Right. But sometimes it's better to pay the more money, because I've talked to a lot of people that they're like, hey, how much would this tree cost me to get cut down? And I'm not in the private industry, so I can't tell people whatever, but it's like, well, I got a pretty good idea. I know people that do this. I said, you're probably looking roughly in this range. And they're like, oh, really? Is it that expensive? And then my response to that is always, well, have you seen those videos on like Facebook or YouTube where the property owner's cutting their tree down, they smashes their house, and they're like, yeah, those are hilarious.
That's expensive.
That's why it's expensive.
Yeah.
Because you pay somebody that knows how not to do that. They're like, oh.
Yeah, and a couple grand is a lot cheaper than rebuilding an entire house.
Yeah, and a lot less hassle.
I think going back to what you were saying though, if they could think of them more as like professionals, like, hey, not saying
he
that,
says it with a stash. I just kidding. Sorry.
not saying that people don't complain about other industries like
Right.
Automotive industry or like healthcare, but I mean, people pay those prices, and they're like, well, yeah, they're going to be expensive. Like we kind of expect
This is perfect. I know where you're going.
$2,000 bill here. We expect this here with the medicine or whatever. So I guess, like, what are they basing that on, that it's expensive? I always wonder that question. Like, why do you think this is expensive? And Corey and we've had those conversations with customers before, and they really have kind of no idea how much goes into it. The level of risk being one, the insurance you're paying for, how much the equipment costs, the knowledge base and that experience that comes from that. And then once you break that down for them, and they're like, oh wow, you have some newer trucks, you're easily rolling with chipper, chip truck, bucket truck, and they're like, you guys have $300,000 or $400,000 right there just in this equipment, and you're like, yeah, and they're like, oh, and you're paying your employees, this, and you're insured, and you get into the employees with healthcare and a 401k and all these other things, and then they're like, oh, okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Well, that too, it's the volume of the work.
Oh yeah,
because a lot of people don't realize they have this tree in their backyard. And they're like, oh, I want to get this tree removed. Okay, we can and they think, well, all you got to do is just cut it down, right? You just take a chainsaw and you just cut it down. You cut it up and you get rid of the brush. What's the big deal? Well, okay. Do you know how to cut a tree down properly? Do you know what kind of tree that is? Because depending on the species of the tree, it can entirely change what you're going to do with it. And then once you get it cut down, all right, how are you going to clean the brush up? Oh, we'll just throw the brush in the back of a pickup truck. Let me know how many trips that takes you.
Right.
Because that's going to be like 6 branches and there's hundreds on that thing. And there's just so much involvement that goes into it that people just don't, until you've done something like that, which is a lot of things in life. Until you've really experienced and gone through the procedure with somebody that knows what they're doing and the whole situation, it's like they just don't know.
And you look at them and you go, listen, there's a reason you called me.
Right.
There's a reason why you didn't go to Home Depot and buy a saw and do it yourself. You had to have known, like, I can't handle this.
Right.
The thing that blows my mind is the amount of questioning. It's like you give them a price, which, we all know is no set price on any tree because every situation is different.
Oh.
And there's no standard for size, what it's close to. There's nothing out there to set the bar to go off of, but people question every price you give them. And you want to look at them and go, do you ever walk into the grocery store and grab a gallon of milk and go up to the cashier and they're like, oh, that's $5. And you go, how about $3? Doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But yet you go bid a tree and they're like, can you do it for this? And you're like, all right, well, now you have to go where Tony went. You got to explain to him. And I've had a couple customers where it's like, man, that's a lot. Okay, well, let me explain to you that I'm actually doing you a favor. I'm not making anything on that because this is what it costs to get it done. I'm not just getting it done for you,
Right.
just taking care of you. And a lot of people just don't, I don't know. That's a really hard topic for me because I know everybody that does everything. At least I feel like I do. So everybody that contracts for me at my house or whatever, I know them. They're friends of mine. I ask them to come over, give me a price. I go with them because I support what they're doing.
True.
And I don't ever get another price. So I've never been in a situation where I've had a hot water tank go out and go, oh man, and call somebody come over and like, oh, okay, well, let me call this company too, see what they charge me.
Right.
I don't ever shop anything because I know them. So I don't know how to not know someone and also call somebody to give me a price on something that I know nothing about.
Right.
So
well, that's I think that's part of it too, where you have a lot of people that, if you're familiar with, because you've had like some mechanic history in your background, right? Like you were,
yeah.
Like, so you're in that like realm of that type of business of building and construction and mechanics and tree work and whatnot. It's like if you were to hire somebody to write some kind of computer software for you, I'd be like, I don't know a lot about that, but I should probably get some quotes on that because.
But you would expect it to be high.
Yeah.
Because somebody tells you like $3,000, you're like, oh, you're writing a software. Like that sounds okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
pretty good.
It's one of those things that people just haven't ever experienced very much. And if they have, it's like, well, I split wood with my dad, but I used, can't be that hard. Like not that big of a deal. And then it's like, they realize like until you've done it, like you just don't know. I tried to do that with the kid. Like the kid, I went to my aunt's house over, it was like the fall-ish. I was like, we're going to cut this tree down. Like my extended family was like, well, we can help. Like, what do we need to bring? I was like, just bring yourselves. Like if you have, my uncle had a log splitter and there's a couple people with chainsaws, but I was just like, when I was dropping, I was like, just everybody just kind of stand there and just let me get it on the ground before you guys start getting crazy. But then once you start taking people through all the steps of all that work, they're like, we were there we did it quick. It was 2 trees, but we did it in, I think, like 3 hours. but we had probably 8 people dragging brush, and like there were like my like niece and stuff was there. Like, you don't realize how much work goes into it. And then next time we're like, somebody's like that, like, well, we need to get this tree cut down. They're gonna remember, oh yeah, it's not just as simple as you think it is.
Right.
It's,
Never is.
You got all this stuff you have to do.
Drag and brush, those are fighting words. No dragging.
No, I don't do that anymore. I used to work for, when Tony and Corey were just kind of like getting everything really rolling as they have it now. I helped them out on the weekends a couple times, and then it was like, you know what? From now on, like, I'm not dragging brush, because I think it was like one of the first times you guys had got like a mini skid steer with like a grappling hook. After that, I was like, I'm not dragging brush for you motherfuckers ever again.
No.
I'm not doing it.
No.
Like, no, because you have this now. Now I'm out. Like, you want brush drag? Call somebody else.
That
not,
was
not me.
that was when we first started. That was our number one thing. You need a machine
Yeah.
to move wood, to move brush. Other than that, it's like, I'm not doing it without it. That's crazy, you know. But that's not to say that, you know, everybody starts somewhere, and it's not to say that it can't be done, because it can definitely be done.
It's definitely been done.
It's a lot harder to get people to work for you,
Yeah.
but it can be done.
If you can afford a piece of equipment, that's one thing too. If you can afford something to help shorten the job, or to help, you know, get a job done, you realize, like, man, that's cutting out of my profits, or it's cutting out of this, or it's a lot of money. But guess what? It's a lot cheaper than breaking your back, and paying somebody the right money to do the right job is a lot cheaper than replacing your garage.
Yeah.
You know, it's just,
And you have the energy to go to another job too.
Yeah.
You know, you're not as whooped. It's not as hard on everybody, and it definitely makes you love it more, because it takes the one thing out that you absolutely hate about tree work.
the physical brutality.
You ask any tree guy, man, what's the worst part about tree work? Drag and brush.
Drag and brush.
Yeah, I definitely remember that, man. When we first started, that was one of the first things I grabbed, was a mini skid steer and a bigger chipper too. And I remember a couple of buddies that own tree companies kind of laughed, and they're like, "Dude, you're gonna tear yards up with that? Like, you're hauling that big chipper around? Like, why do you need a giant chipper like that?" And I was like, just watch. And it was like 3 years later, they all had bigger chippers, they all grabbed skid steers, but I was already kind of like 3 years ahead of them at that point. And they're like, oh, just because I was kind of paying attention to like industry standards, what was going on in other places, always kind of like just trying to adapt. I mean, I think any successful business, you're willing to adapt and adjust. And then going back to what you said, retention of employees, like, yeah, and you can do that. You can manually climb, you can, haul brush, carry wood, things like that. But how many old tree guys do you still see out there, like, getting after it, working, that don't have equipment? You really don't. I mean, it beats the hell out of your body. You know that. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I get that, man. That's awesome that you're building. What's your short-term goals and kind of like long-term goals? I'd like to hear those.
I would say one of my biggest goals would be to get a shop, which I just recently did. So obtaining that goal was pretty big. I think for the next move, is just trying to keep the work coming in.
Yeah,
really is one of the biggest ones, because without that, I mean,
sure,
doesn't matter what you have, or, you know, anything like that. So it's just using the strategy to get the work in, and building the clientele. I would say like a pretty successful short-term goal would be, I would like to make it through an entire year, and have at least one, like a truck or something like that, you know, by the end of the year.
yeah.
So my goal right now is to get either a log truck or a chip truck
Okay.
by the end of the year. I'd really like to have a debris truck.
Yeah.
That would be the ultimate goal, and I've got my eye on a couple of them. You know, and you got to start somewhere, so you're starting with something that's, you know, it's not brand new or anything
Sure.
like that, but, you know, whatever gets the job done. And if I could get something like that, it would it takes out a chipper, and it takes out a chip truck. Yeah, it's a log truck, but you can get wood, you can get brush,
Yeah.
and I have a place that takes debris, so it
Okay.
makes it really simple for, you know, offloading that stuff, because that's also a number one concern is,
What are you gonna do with
where do we take it?
the media?
Yeah. You know, I was blessed to find a shop, and right behind the shop is where I take all my material.
Oh wow.
So I mean, it's like having my own yard in my backyard. The guy's super cool. You work with him, and you kind of help keep some of the riffraff out too. So, as an ultimate short goal, I would say that that's probably it. Just trying to move. As long as I'm moving forward, that's my short goal, is to move forward. So, and I think I've been full go by myself since December.
Okay.
I got one guy that works for me. We worked together years ago. But shows up on time. I mean, he showed up the other day, pulled the truck out, swept the shop out, couldn't ask for a better guy, super loyal. So that is a step in the right direction. And then, like I said, having the shop and stuff like that yeah, as long as I keep moving forward, man, even if it's just a little bit at a time, moving forward in the right direction is all you could hope for, or, be thankful for. So
that's awesome.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's super
tough. It's not easy.
No,
It's not easy. And like I said, I think back to you guys a lot, and I remember going to your grandpa's house, I think, and you had your bucket truck and chipper there one time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure why I was there, but I do remember that. So seeing where you guys are now, and where you guys have taken everything, and I admire a lot of what you guys do, especially Corey. I watch where he's gone and what he does and some of the jobs and stuff like that, and some of the connections and stuff that he's made. And, there's something to be said about that,
Yeah.
He's done a fantastic job, and that's great, and I saw a Rogue sign down the road from my house the other day. I'm like, oh, he's in my territory.
Sons of bitches.
Stay out.
So what is your, like, where are the areas that you typically try to, like?
I stay up by the lake mainly. I mean, there's a lot of companies up there. But right now we were looking to move that way. I don't think that's going to happen with the market. Until something happens with that, I'll probably stay where I'm at. But anywhere we go from Avon to Cleveland, I don't go west too much, but I would go out to Sandusky and stuff like that. And I've started to push into, like Berea and stuff like that, because those are all reachable places from Avon. They're 35, 40 minutes or whatever. But right now, I mean, I pretty much, you got to go where the money is. You got to go wherever you can, and if somebody throws a job your way, you take it.
Right.
Do you make a lot on it? No, but it gets your truck down the road. It gets you there. Other people see you do it, and
It gets the name out there.
yeah, that's the name of the game, man. It's just getting out there, and it is like we talked about earlier. There's tons of tree services, and a lot of guys I went to a job the other day, and they're like, oh, this company gave me this price. And I said, what, man, those are good guys. Go with them. They'll take care of you. I'm not here to beat them out anything. If, they gave you a good price, you're fair with it. You met with them, go with them.
True.
I'm not here to beat them. I could do it for the same price, but why? They're good guys just out trying to do what I'm doing. And I'm hoping that by being that way, and I know business is business and pushing and shoving and stuff, you got to make those calls, but in that aspect, and where I truly believe that the industry is going, I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. So when somebody says, and I know the guys, like, yeah, they do good work. Even if I know they've had mishaps and stuff, like, oh yeah, they dropped a tree through a house. I'm not going to tell them that, If you feel in your gut as a homeowner that that's a good deal and that's a good price, and you trust them, you don't need a bid from me.
Right.
Who am I to contradict that just on a price? If you felt comfortable with them, then that's how you should base it. You shouldn't base it on the price. You should base it on trusting the guy.
You can get in trouble that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes the price.
I've explained that to people. Like, well, this guy said he'd do it for $300. I said, well, call him, because I can't do it for that.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
I said, but I would be weary on him doing it. But I can't. No one else is going to do it for that. So.
Right. Well, that's another thing too, especially like those industries when you're dealing with people. It's like, hey, look, well, you told me 1,000, but this person said they could do it for 300. Well, usually there's a reason. Either someone's way underbidding it, you're way overbidding it, or there's a reason that there's something going on here. Like,
and that is the problem,
because be a little cautious there.
It's hard to determine that, because
right, especially as a homeowner.
Yeah, and you run into companies too where, take Rogue for instance, or Montgomery, or Edwards even. They might be able to do a tree for $1,800, whereas I can't, because they have the equipment to do it in a quarter of the amount of time.
Yeah.
So they can afford to do it for that. It's not that they're undercutting you. It's just that we can do 5 of those a day.
Right. If they have that perfect setup and the perfect place.
Right. They come in, they got everything, boom, 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 knuckle booms, put in the truck, they roll to the next one, And me being a little guy, and I'm sure you can understand this, that when you come into situations like that, and you know that going into it, so when they tell you, oh, well, they can do it for this, and you go, all right, it is what it is, I'll go to the next one, you know?
Sometimes, especially with that, just the equipment. Having the right equipment is... That's all.
That's the name of the game, man. I mean, the equipment is everything, I mean, you could still do it, but if it's taking you more time, you got to make more money for your time. And, it's what I say when I say it's hard. That's what's hard. It's being able to keep those customers coming. And that's where the trust and integrity and all that comes into play with your customer is they know you don't have that, but they like you.
Yeah.
They like you, they trust you, and that's what they go with. So that's, it's hard to sell tree work, but you got to sell yourself more than you're selling the work because that's all you can do.
Right.
Anyone can do the tree work. There's thousands of companies out there that can do just what you can do, but
can they do it right with integrity, like you said, and respect? Because how many times, like people, I think anybody can kind of connect, not necessarily even tree work, but you look at construction, any type of job like that, where you have somebody come in your home and do like a bath remodel. And it's like, yeah, great. They were cheap, but they fucked it all up.
Right.
And now it's like, do I have somebody come in here and try to fix it for me? Like, and then I do this, like getting a job done right the first time, even if it's a little extra. I'd rather, like, you realize that's a lesson I've learned as I've gotten older, where it's like, I always looking for the cheapest route. But sometimes the cheapest route turns into the expensive route.
Cost you more. Yeah.
Real quick. And it's, you realize that you're like, all right, pay a little extra to know what I'm going to get, know I'm going to get that.
Oftentimes you get what you pay for, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can. So going forward, you just looking to just live the dream of doing what you just enjoy doing and kind of keeping it at that level and just being happy with what you're doing. Cause it seems like it was just one of those things where you got to, you had a job, career, whatever. And it was just like, this just isn't cutting it for me personally. Like, it wasn't a money thing. It's just kind of like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And you just want to do what you enjoy.
I have a goal in moving forward and like the longevity of it. Do I want to build a company that's around for 50 years? I don't know. I'm 34, pretty young to start a company, I think, at 34. But there's also other opportunities, where I can use this company to build somewhat of a professional background, to make money, to invest in other things, and either start another company or just have something to fall back on as an investment versus, everything's in my tree company. If it's not running, then I have nothing, because I'm going to get to a place where either it's obvious you're not going to do it anymore.
At some point you just can't climb into that bucket.
Yeah. At some point it's going to, I mean, you can't deny it. It's going to happen.
Yeah. I just had a guy retire that I know, worked for the same company climbing trees every day for 40.
Did he finally retire?
He did. He finally retired. Johnny Arbol.
Yep.
For those that know him in the industry, he worked for a company climbing trees for, it was like 44 years or 43 years or something like that. It's like,
but he can still do it. That's,
he still did
that's
it.
the thing.
Yeah,
he can still do it.
If it was real cold or real hot, or, sometimes he would just, was just a little tired, but yeah, like he would go out there. You had this guy that's like 65 or whatever out there, just out. Maybe not necessarily, it didn't seem like he was always out working like the younger guys, but then when you see somebody like that doing a job that is extremely complex and watching them do it, and it looks just like they're not even trying. And it's like, there's something different there. Like,
that's Johnny Arbol.
Yeah, like doing things is just like, he's not moving fast. He's not making crazy big cuts or doing anything crazy, but it's just like, next thing you know, he's down and that tree's done and on to the next one. Like, did you just do that? Like, I almost fell asleep watching you because it was like nothing was happening. And all of a sudden it's just done. So, but yeah, that's the one. The one that I know out of the hundreds that I've known.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, that guy comes back into my mind a lot. And just meeting that guy and working with that guy, and there's two phases of Johnny. He either liked you or he didn't. And he liked me, he talked to me. But
as long as you're not messing his equipment up.
Yeah. Don't touch his stuff, man. Yeah. Just the kindest guy ever. But I always think back to him and I'm like, you know what, man, that guy just showed up did his job well, and called it a day. And there's something to be said about somebody that works for a company that long and did that job. He never moved beyond, never wanted to be a foreman, never wanted to move up or anything. He just went to work and did his thing,
I just love climbing trees.
And I learned a lot from that guy, man. I really did. I think a lot of us learned a lot from that guy, and more than just tree work. The Johnny stories were the greatest, man. Sitting by a tree in the shade, just listening to it go on. Well,
Yeah,
hope you brought your hook saw with you.
Yeah, he was a good old boy, man. He was
Awesome guy. Guy.
Yeah. So you think you're a lot happier now that you're back and kind of just doing your own thing?
Overall, absolutely.
As far as career wise goes.
Overall, absolutely. I for sure would say that I'm much happier. Obviously, owning a business comes with its own stressors, but they're driving and good stressors. I think. You're always running numbers through your head constantly, and I would say the best part about it is just being able to have the freedoms that I have. I spend, on days that I don't go in or this weather's been terrible lately.
It's been winter.
Yeah.
Damn global warming.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like in the industry, if it's cold and frozen, it's great. But if it warms up this time of year and it's terrible.
Yeah.
It just makes everything 10 times harder. But, there's things to be, there's thankful for those days that I can get out and get stuff done. And then the other days I'm at home and, the kids have had school off. So I've done a lot more things with the kids and more involved in, just doing more things at home with the family. And nobody's breathing down my neck like, hey, you got to come into work tomorrow. You know that, right? And yeah, it's been a great experience so far. I mean, being a couple months in, I would say since June of last year is, as far as my business goes, it's a couple months, but as far as doing what I'm doing, it's been since June of last year. So yeah, I enjoy it, man. I really do. And I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm along for the ride.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because we've been doing this and talking to a lot of different people, or because I'm just getting older and people are like, once you notice people like mid 20s to 30s, a lot of times people are kind of like, the people that can't work the 9 to 5s or the 40-hour week jobs or whatever it is, I think that you finally start realizing that maybe as you get older. But I've seen more and more people in the last couple of years, whether it's a combination of all of that plus COVID, people are finally like, I gotta find something I want to do that I can like, not just, I don't want to just go to I don't know, whatever job, putting straws in a box for 40 hours a week. I think they have machines that do that now these days, I suppose. But
there's a straw shortage, so probably less people doing that now.
Shortage. They're on the boat somewhere.
Yeah,
but doing something like that, because there's a lot of people like you look at our I guess maybe it's probably even more so like, would it be the grandparents' age range, like those folks that are like the 60 to 80 that they grew up like working in a factory, like you hear the stories about in Detroit. They worked in a car factory for 40 hours a week, but they made great money, and that's just what they did. They went to the factory, worked for 35 years, and retired and called it. But like now, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's technology, maybe it's all the things coming together. We're realizing that there's a lot more to life than just finding a job that I can pay the bills with. Like,
I think that people have taken the perspective of doing things on their own differently with technology and stuff. There's a lot of, I'm sure that this exists. It doesn't exist. I mean, it kind of irks me too, but when you see, like, my daughter watches these kids open toys and play with them on YouTube. They're millionaires. Yeah. They're millionaires. And they do simple everyday things. And I think that's really got the ball turning in a lot of people's court is, hey, I can find something like that. I could do that. I could do this. These people just blow up on social media, and don't get me wrong, it's not everybody that does it makes it. It's very hard, but you just have that one tick that somebody clips onto and boom, you're golden, And I think people have taken that, like, you see a lot of people doing like tables and stuff like this. You see a lot more people doing stuff like that in their home, which is great. You know, we should be crafters and we should be doing these things. And, you know, you don't have to go put the straws in the box all the time. You know, there's other things to do. And I think just with technology, people are seeing more of that. So it's influencing them more to
Right.
go out on their own and
That's
do
a good
those
point.
things.
Being able to leverage that technology, being able to leverage the technology, be able to reach a bunch of different people. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, this table, like I could ship this table somewhere. It would probably cost a lot, but if someone's willing to pay for it, then
It's gone.
yeah, I could just make tables at my house and make a ton of money. Because there's people I follow. There's some company up in Canada that does it, that does tables like this. They do resin tables, and they just started doing it, you know, in a shop and start shipping them out. And now they have this huge giant operation where they're making like $10,000 tables with like Star Wars, like like inside the resin and like doing all types of crazy shit. It's like,
Takes one person to go, I could do that.
yeah, they're just hanging out. And like they had like shoot videos and stuff. They're just hanging out, like just making tables in a garage all day. Like that sounds awesome. Like I'm not a huge like woodworker type person, but that sounds a hell.
Really?
I mean, not like that. Like I enjoy doing this, but I don't know if I could do it like forever. But
I would love to have a wood shop.
yeah,
and
this like doing that compared to like going to a 9 to 5. Okay. Now you have my attention. Like, fuck yeah. Like, and I can do whatever I want and have some kind of freedom. I think it's that freedom. People are finding that freedom. I think, especially in the last couple of years. What was I heard the other day? It was like another like 4.5 million people like left the workforce in the last year. So like we've had over like I think it's like over since the pandemic started. It's just gross saying it. But since that started,
we're an endemic now.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, I don't care. But they, I think it's like over 10 million people have like they've estimated have permanently left the workforce.
Which is great as long as you're contributing.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
if you're
whatever
leaving the
doing.
workforce, it's one thing,
Yeah,
but you got to
start to-
leave the workforce and still contribute.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
maybe they do. I don't know.
You
As
got to
long-
do your part. You can't
as
just
long
play
as
with toys all day.
No, as long as they're not like on like
Although I do it.
government assistance.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, like because that's for people. Like, I get the whole government assistant like idea. Like, that's for people that can't necessarily make it on their
Sure.
different things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I've
like,
been there.
yeah, like I've gotten unemployment before. Like, man, maybe it's what I wonder how many. I guess maybe that's what it is. I wonder how many of those people have left and started a company. I'd be interested to see that because a lot of companies, a lot of small businesses in the past couple of years have been shut down because of restrictions. But I wonder how many small businesses are going to start. Like, and I wonder where that number is going to be in like 5 years. I can only imagine it'd be more. There may not be as many like restaurants as there were. You know what I mean? Stuff like that because people, you know, you have to wear a mask inside to sit down to eat. But different businesses that people are like, hey, I can do this locally, or I can make this product and ship it out.
I bet it's a lot more than we think. I see the mustache twitching over there, Tony. What you thinking about that?
he has some
scratching it.
He's trying the caterpillar on them.
What do you think? You think there's more people? You think there's more people starting businesses?
Well, I honestly don't know.
It seems maybe, and maybe that's my question is I don't know if it seems like it because I'm paying attention to it more, or is it just because like it seems I know now, even aside from this podcast and the people that I've met through this, I know personally more people that are starting businesses or have started their own business or like doing their own thing than I ever have. Like
in 2010, the number of new business applications came in at 2.5 million. For 2020, it was 4.38 million. So they're saying a whopping 75% more
Oh wow!
in the last 10 years.
so I wonder what 21 and 22
Yeah, I was going to say
are
that
looking
would be
like.
the statistic.
Because I bet
from
20
to 22.
Yeah, I bet 21 to 22 is going to be even more so. That's interesting. Makes sense though. Like it's a lot of work, like you said. It's not easy, but
There were good things going on during those numbers.
2010 to 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I think there were. But I think now, because of what's happened in the past couple of years, I think more people are going to take the risk. At least from my standpoint, I look at it as, all right, if I'm working for a company or if I have a restaurant, or if I have something like that, and then all of a sudden someone's like, hey, the government shut us down, so we don't have work for you. Well, what do you mean? Like, I've worked here for 15, 20 years.
Got to do something.
And I'm just gone. Like, so why am I depending on anybody? Like now at least we've realized, we've talked to a lot of people that realize like the only person I can depend on when you really pull it down is you.
Yep.
Like, and you have friends and stuff like that, but I'm gonna depend on the government or somebody else to like make sure I can survive. Ooh.
And you have friends and you have family, but you know, when stuff gets tough, man, it's you. You know.
Yeah, who's gonna carry the boats, Tony? Someone's got to do it, right?
But it is, you know, I have a good friend of mine who is a manager of the Best Buy out here in Worcester, and she came over. It's Yvonne,
Okay.
and she came over playing cards one night. You know, and we got on the conversation of employees and stuff like that, and who her best employees are, and it's high school kids. They are number one, like, hands down. They do anything, they work anything, and I'm really interested to see. And the reason I say that is because those kids are just getting into the workforce.
Yeah.
You know, they're still living at home. They make $200 on a week, and they're like, heck yeah, you know, this is great. You know, so they want to go back to work. And I'm really curious to see if that age group is going to have that maybe be our next boom, which is what our hope is. You know, you have to hope for that. But it made me feel really good knowing that the younger generation out there, the 16, 17, 18, able to work individuals are driven to work. And they don't even realize that they're working for, you know, more money than, you know, like all these people are getting paid tons of money than people that were working there, you know, 16 years old before that. You know what I'm saying? Like, these kids are making good money at a lot of these jobs.
Yeah, I mean, inflation, all that other stuff. But yeah, they're now like some of those jobs are.
Yeah, I mean, and the
getting
world's
paid.
expensive too. But
Yeah, getting paid. Quite
I guess
better.
my hope is that they are the new push, and that they are the ones that are going to fill these voids of people that are like, oh, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
you
I wonder
know.
what that looked like because I was concerned for a while because I've seen.
And I was too, and that's why I brought it
Yeah, I've
up
seen some
because it
kids
was
that are
really
like-
good to hear.
Yeah, some people that are like 10, like in their 20s, and like now that's like, man, like I don't know what happened because for a while there, I felt like a boomer. I did. I was like, man, I was like, this generation behind me, they're a bunch of worthless fucks. Like, what are they? Like, they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, they don't work hard. Like, they bitch. Like, if you're gonna bitch, at least work hard. One or the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Bitch and work hard at the same time.
Yeah,
Like,
something. But like,
that's the American way.
yeah, yeah. Like, you're allowed to complain, but do your goddamn job while you're doing it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I
Complain
wonder.
and get a paycheck. you
Yeah, I
know?
wonder how much of that like it kind of like if it like skips generations or these you go through these waves of like people because that's like because I was raised to not necessarily I didn't necessarily enjoy working hard, but it was hey, if you're gonna do something, just do it.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna be here, you gotta do it. Just
Make the best of it.
yeah, just do it. So I wonder how much of that is like people having kids that were grown on that were kind of raised on that, and then realizing that like some people they know weren't raised that way, and it's like I gotta raise my kids right. Like so maybe I wonder if that's finally like catching back up to us that. I don't know that, and I think the technology, like some of these kids these days, some of the stuff they're doing, you're seeing all these like 20, 24 years old millionaire through crypto or software development or like for a while there, I was really concerned.
Yeah.
But then it's like you see these kids doing some incredible things. And it's like, all right, maybe we'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, my son is a perfect example, and not just because he's my son, but I'm really proud of this kid. Like he went to work, he started last year. He started his own mowing business.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So last year we bought a dirt bike for like $300, and I worked on it for a while. And I'm not the greatest mechanic. I can get by, but his grandfather is an excellent mechanic. So he ended up taking the bike, fixed it, he flipped it. So he sold it for $800. He went and bought a riding mower, a push mower. My neighbor gave him a weed eater and a blower for doing some work over at his house, and a wagon, and put all that stuff in there. And he was going around mowing yards and stuff. And then wintertime came. We got the snow. He borrowed my neighbor's snowblower, and him and a buddy went out and made $300.
There's a lot of snow this year.
Yeah, made $300 in 2 days. And then the second snow hit, and the roads were super bad the second time. So I put everything in my truck and took him around. He was putting the snowblower in his mower wagon and dragging it around town.
That's awesome.
I mean, he's killing it, you know? And he did so much, he went and bought his first car, all by himself and from doing driveways.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, man, it's really cool. And he also works for, Pat O'Neill, don't you? Out in Lodi, you guys take him some logs and stuff here. He sells firewood wholesale.
Okay.
But Landon works for him and stacks bins and stuff for him.
Okay.
And he's an ex-tree guy and stuff too. So he's into that and doing the wholesale firewood. Well, Landon started working with him and making money, and then once the kids see the money, it's like, I want to go back to work. Like, my kid's like, I want to drop out of school and just do this every day. And I'm like, nah, that's not a thing,
I can buy stuff?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
This is cool.
And he's bought some really cool stuff. I mean, he's bought some,
You got to learn that.
yeah, he got ripped off on a snowmobile here a while back. He paid $300 for it and messed with it for 2 days and couldn't get it running, but he sold it for $250.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm like, yeah, 2 days.
$50 lesson.
Yeah, you lost $50. Okay,
What'd you gain though with that $50?
Yeah, knowledge on a snowmobile for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, he bought him. This is the greatest story. So he's over at a friend's house, and the neighbor kid's got this mini bike, and the kid couldn't get it running. So Landon walks over there, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to sell it?" The kid's like, "Well, let me ask my mom," and he goes and he's like, "Yeah, I'll sell it." And he's like, "How much you want?" He's like, $20. Landon gave him $20, used his tools, fixed it, and then rode it home. He came home and told me that story, dude. And I'm like, that is freaking awesome, dude. Like, that is the greatest kick in the balls ever.
That's hilarious.
So he bought that thing. He put a whole big motor in it. Grandpa and him put a giant. It goes like 40 miles an hour now, like some dumb. It's insane, man. It's got a carburetor on it. He's got exhaust on it. It's nuts. But going back to what we were talking about, man, it just. He's driven, and it's just good to see that. And I don't, the school systems influence kids more than anybody thinks, I believe. But, I also watching my wife and I and everything that we do, I'm sure is getting pushed on him a little bit. But it's good to see that he's driving his friends to go out and work. Like he wants to work, and it kind of gives you some hope. For what's to come, and hopefully that, and hearing that from her and saying that, they're great employees. I don't know how I was when I started working, you make money, but it's like, okay. I'd rather go do cool stuff, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think that ties into, we talked about, like the precarious balance of raising a kid and
Word drop.
Sorry, it was that. I think I'm using it in the right context. You can tell me if not.
I can't tell you. He could probably tell you.
Well, that's why I looked at him. Tony's the word guy. If
Facetious.
Yeah, you know that one for sure. Of giving them enough to get by, but like not giving them too much to where they don't figure out how to earn it and respect it themselves.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like you've seen a lot of people, like kids, their parents paid for them to go to college, and then they paid for their car while they're at college and all this stuff. And it's like, they had all this money that was just basically given to them, and there's no like respect behind it, or like, but there's a difference between like, I have no problem somebody like buying their kid a car, but how are you teaching them to respect what that car means to them and what it should mean to them?
Right.
So like the ability to earn your own money and buy your own things at that age, and having that realization at that young of an age, like, I don't know much better of a lesson you could teach a teenager than how to work, acquire the things you need on your own, and figuring it out.
And I think that exactly, and I just thought of this while you were saying that, that's exactly how I think of my business. Is being able to do those things because of what I've done, earning the right to buy the truck, to pay for the truck, to say I built this, versus somebody saying,
right,
there you go build an empire.
Yeah. And that lesson afterwards too, because when you lose it, like if you're given something, you're given a car, you're given whatever, and then you lose it and you're like, whoa, what am I supposed to do now? You're waiting for that next handout. You're waiting for it to be given to you again. And then if it doesn't happen, then it's like, what am I supposed to do? Who's going to help? Well, how will all these people be so successful? That's not right. That I worked hard. but I lost my car. Whatever. Well, you know what those people did is they lost their car and they went out and they figured out how to buy another one all on their own. Like, and that's a lesson that there's not like, you just can't sit through a classroom and be like, oh, this is how you survive in the world. You know, it's like you have to figure it out, in that lesson of being able to do that on your own and being like, you know what? I don't know, this is a great idea. I'm going to quit this job and I'm going to start a business, but you know, I've figured it out before.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out again. And if not, then I'll figure it out some other way. But I don't know.
I've seen it with my kids and within the schools is they really, I don't know how they do it, but they keep the kids from thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And I look at my kids sometime and I'm like, really, dude? Like,
yeah,
you can't just take another couple seconds to figure, you know, a different move than what you did. Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Well, how did you not think of that? You know, like,
I've been preaching that for a while now, and we've talked to teachers and educators and people that, you know, are all different spectrums of things. And it's like, I've realized, especially with my own kid now, with the age that she's at, like, they teach them what to think, not how to
exactly.
think.
Yep.
And when I realized, I'm like, man, like, this is not good. Like, no wonder like people have been struggling with the public education system, especially we saw it blatantly when everything got locked down. And they're like, okay, well, we'll do the, you know, remote learning from home, and she could do the schoolwork in like an hour and a half.
Yep.
I'm like, why the hell are you spending 7 hours at school when you're only learning an hour's worth of, you know, material throughout the day?
That's to prepare you for an 8-hour workday.
I'm like, what? Like, so it's just like a babysitter. That's all. And now it's like to the point where like she's gotten like miserable because it's like, I'm bored. Cause like I try the best I can to teach her like how to figure something out. Like I'm not going to give you the answer. Try to think of different ways to think about things. And it's like you said, like, how did you not think about that? Well, if you're never, it's hard to teach somebody how to think outside the box because they just have to do it. Like, it's not something like,
yeah,
you can teach somebody how to add and subtract, but how
lead a horse to water.
Yeah. But like, if they don't know like how to actually do something different, you know,
you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And I don't know. I think that's, it's important. And I think I think seeing some of the younger kids do the incredible things they're doing with technology, I think if technology goes down, they're all fucked for sure. But
to say it lightly.
Yeah. But if not, like, they could do some pretty incredible things because you have some of these kids that are just like playing with these things and like creating, you know, computer systems and stuff that I don't like. I feel fairly decent at electronics and computers, but some of these kids, I don't even know.
Yeah. I had my youngest son tell me the other day, do you know how to do that? I mean, I know I'm a little bit more like technology advanced than you are. I said, bro, it's Tetris. Like, yeah. I got this.
That's funny. Yeah.
Well, you know, I know more about this stuff than you do. I'm like, this stuff developed when I was growing up, man. Like, I got this, but he's not wrong. I mean, there are some aspects of it that are like, he's just second nature to him.
It's super complex. Or it's like that. Do you ever see that video of the judge on the conference call and he had a cat filter on?
I've not seen that one. I've seen the other one where the guy shows up with the name. I can't remember what the name was, but it was like Buttfucker 2000 or something. He shows up to court and that's his tagger name or something on the bottom.
Oh,
and the judge is like, how dare you come in here? Like, and the guy's like lost, didn't even understand why it was up there or how it was up there. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, get out of my courtroom.
He like used his like son's login name or something. No, it was they based same kind of thing, but this like, it was I think it was a judge. It was a judge or an attorney or something like that.
It was a judge. I think.
Like was on this call and for some reason the filter changed him into a cat.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find it.
Oh, that's great.
But it's funny. It's like, and you realize that like some of these people that have never like, look at folks our age, you know, mid-30s, like you grew up during the technological boom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, yeah, I don't know all of the details about cryptocurrencies and how to write software and all those things, but I understand like cell phones and video games and movies. Like I kind of get how it works. But if you grew up like watching black and white TV, since you were like, and up until you were like 30 or 40, like, man, that learning curve.
Oh, it's
real
huge.
fucking steep. Did you?
Yeah.
Did you have it unmuted? You'll have to unmute the computer too. Oh, did you? I don't hear anything. That's weird. Oh, I wonder.
So that's him as the cat.
This is a time
Oh,
when
here it is.
people
Yeah, here we go.
are down and depressed and lonely and
Let's-
angry at each other and at the government.
I don't think this is it.
And this has been just a small little
No, leave it.
glimpse,
Click at the top right one,
unintentional
up in
as
the
it
top of the
was
screen
by
there,
me,
where it's split. That split screen.
That's
into
Tony Stark.
what things need
Top
to
right.
be again.
Top right of the
Everyone
screen.
is
That one right there.
enjoying it.
Yeah, click on
The
that one.
feedback is all
Dr. Marty, which one
Oh,
is
this is the
better
whole
for my
thing.
cat? Wet cat
Ow, it's
food
like
or
45
ginger?
minutes. Dang
A
it.
lot of people that have cats are unknowingly doing something
Yeah, skip
that is
that.
shortening their pet's life. I've been a veterinarian for 45 years,
Hit the skip
and
the
I've
ad.
treated thousands
On
of
the right of
cats.
the screen. It says skip ad on the screen. Yeah. So you can see him in the bottom right
You have
corner.
a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to.
So it's like he's
We're
a
trying to. Can you hear me, Judge?
I can
Yeah.
hear you. I think it's a filter.
judicial district court.
And
It
Yeah.
is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it.
Could you imagine do that
I'm here
proceedings?
live. I'm not a cat.
Like, no shit. We get it. Yeah, you're not a cat.
I'm not a
I-
cat.
Yeah. And you see the guy at the top right, he's like, I'm trying not to die laughing here, but he's like, even I figured this out. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. So like I would know. Like you just get on your computer and you think,
Yeah.
why am I a cat?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why am I a cat?
I'm not a cat, I swear.
Why do I do this every week and I still pull up videos and I'm unsure of why things are muted and unmuted? You know, maybe we need Lane in here to help me out.
It would help.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be appropriate for his age. Sometimes we get inappropriate. I thought about that though. If she gets too busy, I don't know who's gonna save me, help me out. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
But technology, it's a funny thing, especially if you haven't dealt with it. But I don't know. It's wild out there.
yeah, that's the great thing about, with the tree industry is the technology of removing and the equipment and stuff that's out there. But when it comes down to it, I mean, it's you still have the knowledge to do it, whether you have it or not.
Yeah.
So you can completely separate yourself from technology, as we would call it technology, and just do it old school, and that's the beauty of it is you could just go out there and take your chainsaw and it's what's in, it's not a computer that's doing it. It's you,
Yep.
and you have the knowledge to do it.
Even then, if you have the technology, if you have all
You still need the knowledge and the
highest end
ability.
equipment,
Yeah.
you're still doing something extremely dangerous, like extremely complicated, that you have to have the knowledge on how to do those things and how to do it safely. And because that's not for a while there, I think it was one of the second most dangerous job besides crab fishing.
Yeah, that's still number one, I think.
Yeah, that's a pretty wild one.
Yeah.
But you don't realize and maybe that tying that into the whole technology thing in kids, I think that's where I see there being issues in the future of these kids living their entire lives on social media or technology and never going out and doing anything physically hard. Because that's great. If you can live a whole life and have, soft hands and no calluses and making tons of money, good for you. But what happens when your car breaks down on the side of the road and there's nobody around? It's 2:00 in the morning and you're like,
What do I do?
I've never changed a tire before. There's a lot of people out there. Having some knowledge base of, how to survive is kind of helpful too.
And I think I think we're going to hit a really hard spot, and that's what's going to drive, the blue collar industry back to where it should be. Not that it's necessarily declined, but, we're getting out of the college phase, I think, of, everybody being pushed into college. You're going to go to college, you're going to go to college, you're going to go to college. Well, those jobs you have 500 people interviewing for that job. You show up to a good blue collar job, any blue collar job, hey, do you know how to do this? Yeah. All right. You're hired,
You show up on time with
Yeah.
looking somewhat put together. It's well, you want to work? Okay. I got a job for you.
I mean, and you've always been, at least in my age group, I guess, in ours, whatever generation, you know, if you don't go to college, you're not going to have a good job,
Mhm.
you know, and, you know, we've proved that, you know, that you don't have to, you know, it's a choice. You could go work, or you could go to college and you could still go get a blue collar job.
Yeah.
You know, and be that much more intelligent or that much more versatile or be able to take other positions within that, you know. But my kid says all the time, you know, do I have to go to college? I said, you go to college if you want to go to college. Don't go to college if you don't want to go to college. It's your choice, you know. If you want to go study something, you know, and he was asking me about, you know, the tree industry and stuff like that. And, you know, what would I go to college for? I said, well, you go to college for forestry, you know. I said, and there's a lot of things, a lot of different ways you could go. And there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And it was with anything, you know, there's a lot to learn. And Tony, you could speak to that. You learned a lot of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just, where do you go? What do you do? Where are we headed? And I think we're going to be okay, you know, in the long scheme of things. But, you know, there are some things out there that are still questionable. But looking at my kids, it makes me proud to know that there is hope, you know, that they are wanting to work and they see the value of working. And, you know, you think as a parent that you know, maybe you think your kids are watching you, maybe you think they're not, but they are, you know, and they notice what you do and how you do things and how you strive and everything like that. And, you know, me starting a company, my wife has had several companies, and then her bodybuilding, my oldest son, he's now a gym rat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So now I got all these things, and him coming home and he thinks he's got to go to the gym for 14 hours a day and just keep lifting and lifting. And you don't have to work out for 2 hours, like half hour, 45 minutes, you're good. Well, it takes me 20 minutes to figure out how the machine works. It's not enough. It's not enough time.
That's funny.
So, yeah, I mean, it's really cool. You know, it's really cool to see, you know, my oldest grow up and he's got his temps now and just watching him grow up. And, you know, he's a really cool kid to hang out with. And, you know, and Lane going through his phases. And then, you know, of course, my daughter, and she's brilliant. I'm not sure, she must have got it from her mother, but, very,
I'm not sure
very
how that
intelligent.
happened,
But it you know, you look at everything going on, and it's like, man, what is the world going to be like when I look at my daughter, like when you are my age? You know, what's it going to be? What are you going to do? What's everything going to be like? You know, and our grandfathers had that same conversation. I guarantee it. You know, what's the world going to be like when he, you know, when he's
probably,
like
probably
35, 40, you know, and I think things are just going to keep going, and they'll just keep evolving, and it's just a steady stream of ups and downs. And yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I've never questioned that more than I do now. But now
We had this question coming back into the house too. We were talking about
I have a little more optimism than I have in recent years. Because for a while there, it was looking pretty grim. I'm like, man, like I don't know what the future of, you know, our nation, our young people, the world looks like. Because it didn't look good for a while, and it just seemed to be like getting worse and worse and worse. But I've seen recently a few more of those stories and a few more of those people, like you talk about kids like being able to go out and do stuff and you know, really chasing something and putting the work in. And you see people finally, you know, hey, I could go do a blue collar job. Like I could go to a trade school. I could be a pipe fitter and make, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. You got to work, but you could do that, you know, or some people, you still go to college and do all those things, but man, try to diversify what you can do and your capabilities because I always thought that weird. Like you go to high school and it's like, all right, you got to go to college right out of the gate. I barely knew my ass from my elbows when I was 18. Like, and then you want me to go to college and pick a career choice for the rest of my life, like,
right,
and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars doing it. I'm like, I'm kind of glad I don't have the money to go to college because
I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, I would probably waste it all anyways.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know what to do, but I think there is that movement coming back where I think some of those jobs are realizing that, hey, we need people to like, you know, do construction and fix our buildings and, you know, drive our supplies across the nation and provide all these services. And sometimes those things aren't all that bad. You mentioned in the beginning, you kind of fell into tree work. Just, I don't know how many people I've talked to. They're like, you've been in this industry for 15 years. How'd you get here? Did you go to school for it, or you just something you loved? No, I don't know. I needed a job, and this place was hiring. And
Yep.
next thing I know, 10 years later, I'm still kind of enjoying what I do. And it's like, oh, like, okay. It's just one of those industries that just, there's so many, I guess the point is, there's so many things out there that growing up and even adults never know about and never see. There's so many different jobs and paths to take that's just try to figure out what you like doing.
That's got to be the hardest question. I've asked my son, like, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know. And I said, that's an acceptable answer because there's no way in hell you should even know what you want to do for the rest of your life when you're 16 years old.
Yeah.
There's a few of them out there. They're like,
this is what I'm doing.
this is it. Like, because it's just so ingrained in them. But most kids,
Every one of my cousins, my Uncle Richie in Indiana and his 3 boys, great kids. They were in town when they were probably, I don't know, 10 through 13 or something. I'm not sure what the age gap is, but I asked every one of them what they were going to do, and they all knew. And they're all doing exactly that today.
That's wild.
They knew. One kid was, he was going to go be a missionary, and the other one was going to go to the military, and then the other one was he's like, oh, I want to go build tanks. I think he's on his road to do that. And then the oldest one, he's doing stuff abroad somewhere, I think. I can't remember exactly what he was, but they all said, this is what I want to do, and boom, they knew it, and that's what they're doing. It's like, that's crazy, that's awesome. Like,
yeah, that's super cool. I have
to be able to have that direction at that age and be like, yeah, this is what I'm passionate about it. I'm gonna do it. This is what I want to do. Somebody would have asked me in high school, like, hey, do you want to be a tree guy? Oh no, I'm terrified of heights. I don't want to be a tree guy. Why would I want to do that? That's crazy. Here I am. 13, 15 years later.
Yeah. I'm 35 and I still don't know what I want to do.
Yeah. I think that's completely normal. I think you go through life figuring out what your purpose really is. What am I supposed to be doing? What am I, who knows, But that's the beauty of being an individual and being a human on earth is, you either have the right to not have that choice or you have the right to have that choice.
Well, some places, not all places on earth, you have that ability. But
That's true.
luckily, we live in the place we do.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, most places you have a little bit of choice of kind of what you do, but I think a lot of people, we forget that, like, how many options we have here.
Do have a lot of options and a lot of directions. The one thing my son said that he wanted to do is he's like, I want to be a pipeline welder. I'm like, that's great. That's a bomb job. I want one of those sweet trucks, the flatbeds, I want to travel. Like,
yeah, if you want to travel.
Yeah, you could do it. You could do it. And he looked it up. He's like, yeah, I want to go to the Career Center for welding. They don't have welding anymore.
What?
Really?
Yeah. Medina Career Center does not have. I'm sure Wayne still does, but Medina does not.
How's that even a thing? That's like one of the best. If you're gonna think about a career like that as a teenager, that you're gonna go to like a high school like career center for, man, that's literally one of the best careers you go into because being a good welder, make a lot of fucking money.
Well, not to mention like the stuff you could do with fabricating and welding is endless, man. Like.
Yeah, it's one thing to like make like we talked about this table. It's one thing to make things out of wood. Wood's easy to work with.
Yeah.
But making things out of metal, like you just up the bar now. Like,
yeah.
That's impressive.
It's very impressive. It's crazy. And I took a little bit of welding and I took it in high school and they offered it as an elective at Worcester High School. It was really cool. And I was pretty decent at it. And it's an awesome trade to even just be familiar with, Yeah. So for Christmas this year, I bought him a welder.
That's awesome. There you go.
Yeah, he was super stoked, man.
Yeah, it's a trait. I mean, it's a skill that you have to learn.
And then after you buy your kid a welder, you forget that you bought him a welder, and then he's out welding in the garage.
Everything.
And you're like,
you just weld in there. You sit. What are you welding now?
My light's dim in my house. Like,
yeah.
Why did I buy this thing?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I can't get the garage door open. It's stuck.
Yeah. Welded it shut, man. Apocalypse time. We welded her shut. Got steel shutters on all my windows.
Yeah.
Way to go, man.
That's one thing I would not, as a kid, that would have been a bad thing to give me because I would have been fucking welding everything together.
Yeah, well, he bought his lawnmowers and his tractors, and he's got one that he makes it go like 60 some miles an hour, and he burns up and down the road and does donuts in the snow, and he's got a gas pedal on it, and yeah. I mean, my hat's off. He's really a cool kid, man. He does some pretty cool stuff, but then he does stuff where I'm like,
yeah, that'll happen.
I don't want to embrace this. I kind of want to. Shouldn't be doing that, but That's really awesome.
Yeah, sometimes when you step outside of that box, sometimes you get in some wild areas.
Yeah, you definitely do. You definitely do. But yeah, so I got him a welder.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
That's pretty cool.
And the guy he's working for, Pat, is he's a certified welder, but he's also a fabricator on the side too. So
There you go.
he's a perfect guy for him to be
Learn
around
from.
and work with. Super great guy, and he could learn a lot from him. I'm like, dude, just stay with Pat. He'll take care of you, you know. So
I think it's a big thing that it seems like we've lost throughout the few last couple generations is like that like apprenticeship type, like even if it's not like a formal like journeyman apprenticeship type program, like but finding somebody like in that field and just learning from them and like just kind of being that like shadow, like some of those old dogs in the games that you're gonna learn some stuff you probably shouldn't, but you're gonna learn more than
you're gonna learn.
Yeah, you're going to learn stuff that you'll just never learn from a book. That you'll never learn from like a school setting, that you can only learn. You might learn it just doing it on yourself, but you're going to learn a lot faster if someone's there to go, hey, maybe do it this way. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, because they've had that experience. And that's
the fantastic thing about Asplin. I mean, that's in their own way, they are probably the greatest tree company because look at Rogue and some of their just having their policies and their safety procedures and stuff like that, and I think that comes from being influenced in the right direction from Asplin. And I carry a lot of that with my company too, the wearing the chaps and all that stuff. And as much as I didn't absolutely love the job, I respect it. And I respect where I came from. And without working those years there, I wouldn't be where I am. The guys I worked with, some of the leadership that I had, you get a really good, to me, that's a perfect vocational school for somebody that wants to be a tree guy is go to Asplin, man. You'll get spikes on your feet. You'll get time in the tree. You'll learn a lot. You'll have a lot of different people to pull and learn from, and at your choice, of course. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's great. And anybody that was to come to me like, hey, yeah, I worked at Asplin, I'd definitely be willing to take more of a look at them than somebody that's like, yeah, I worked for, John Doe's Tree Service. And it's like, well, I don't really know what you come from. But if you come from Asplin, you at least understand policies, procedures, safety aspects.
Safety's kind of an important thing.
Yeah, you at least have that knowledge to know that it's not weird to do it here.
Right.
It's already been burned into you. If you were even there for 6 months, simple safety, and that's huge. And you got to have people that are willing to, well, obviously, if they're not later, because they're just a risk, but not having to push that and having an understanding, I think is huge. So in a lot of ways, there's Asplin's doing more for the industry and they probably realize it, but I don't think people give them that credit that they deserve in that aspect because they are raising these kids. And a lot of tree companies, they probably worked there at one time or another. I ended up working there and it was just a fluke that I went. I worked there for 2 days before I really understood what we even did. And that's no joke. Like I rode around in a toolbox, literally on the back of a truck. It was a man cab. Crawled into one of those things and just rode around, not really seeing where we were going, got out, cut some stuff up and got back in the truck. And what do we do?
Right.
That's what we do?
Yeah.
Like, sign me up. But it was hotspot season, so.
Right. Well, I think a lot of that too, it's just the like the businesses. Like I think a lot of people, if you're looking from like a hiring standpoint, you look at an employee and if you look at their past record and you go, oh man, this person jumped jobs a lot. Or did they jump jobs? Is it the same job over and over and over and over for 20 years that they've just been changing companies? Because that's a little concerning. But is it, did they go to this company and do, mechanic work, or they go here and they tried sales and then they went here, because that's different. Even if it's the same amount of jobs in the same time frame, you can see, all right, this person's looking. And I think one of the biggest things that at least maybe I'm just talking to myself here as a kid that I kind of did, but I would have been less afraid to do is not afraid to go try different things and just go, well, I don't know, we'll try it, see what happens. Instead of being so stuck on trying to do certain things, just or like, hey, I have to stay here. I have to work in this job because I have to, I got to climb the ladder and I got to do like obtain. I need to get my raise next year and I want this vacation or instead of just trying to try different things, you go try it. Well, I don't know if I like that. Try something different. Try something new. Try something that you don't think you'll like. Maybe you will. I don't know. Maybe.
That's a really valid point. I wonder if employees or employers that are hiring people at a young age ever considered that. Because I never thought about, when you're young and you're getting your first job, it's like you got to go in proper for your your interview and stuff like that, and you're trying to get the job. But I wonder if, like, I'm looking back in my mind of being interviewed for my first job at Flynn's. I wonder if they were like, you know what? It's okay if he doesn't like this, but let's give him a shot and let him try it. Maybe he likes it, maybe he doesn't. Do they think that, or do they just want somebody to fill that void that they don't have?
Yeah, I think that depends on how good of a business owner you have, or how good of a manager or employer that they're hiring.
Well, that's a really good point, though, man. I mean, kids at a young age shouldn't just go to one job and just stay there and go to work every day. Yeah, you want to teach them that you dedicated yourself. You said you were going to show up every day. They rely on you to come in, but you also want to leave them with the freedom to say, if you don't like it, go do something else.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that is okay.
Yeah, that's a lot different than not showing up for work or being late every day, and being lazy when you're there, like
or not respecting them and just jumping ship and not saying anything.
Yeah.
But you sit down and you tell somebody, hey, you know what? I tried this. It's not really for me. I'm gonna go here.
Yeah.
And that's a really good point, because I don't know that that's ever been. Maybe it is out there. I don't know, but
there's a lot of individuals that are like that, and same thing is like a individual basis as far as if somebody leaves a company too. Like, cause I hear a lot of people like, oh, he quit on me and went somewhere else. Well, okay. Well, whose fault's that? Is it his? He just didn't like the job, and wanted to go do something else? Or are you an asshole?
Suck. Yeah.
Yeah. And nobody likes working for you. Because I had seen people like that too, like different jobs and, different professions where like, man, I just can't get these young kids to work these days. They're all a bunch of lazy bastards, this, that, whatever. And it's like, well,
maybe it's your leadership.
Yeah. Maybe you're an asshole. And they just don't like working for you, because I've seen that too. And I've seen some lazy fuckers too. But, a lot of people don't look at that as a reflection of, all right, what am I inputting into this situation that could change it for the better? Maybe I need to treat my employees nicer. Or maybe if I showed up on time to work every day, my boss wouldn't be such an asshole to me. Maybe that's the reason your boss is an asshole, because you're lazy and you don't show up on time. I don't know. A lot of those contemplations, I think people think it's always somebody else.
Well, that's a good point, man, because there is, you could do the same job for two different people and you could produce differently.
Oh, yeah.
It just, the leadership is huge. And I've had instances where I've done a lot better for some people than others, and it's just because, like, dude, I come in every day, I show up on time, but you just beat me down.
Yeah.
Why are you, I don't want to be here. I don't feel like I'm really doing anything for you other than a pain in your ass, because that's what you make it seem like every time I come in.
So why do I need to perform anyways? Like,
right.
Screw it.
And sometimes being the person that I am, I've been able to utilize those situations and force those people to like me, and not force them to like me, but force them to say, yeah, I'm a pretty decent person. You're kind of treating me like crap.
Yeah, at least treat me fairly.
Yeah.
You may not like. There's plenty of people that I've worked with that I don't like, but it's all personal. And it's like, look, this person I know, our personalities don't mesh. We just don't get along, but they're not really doing anything like super crappy. So you still have to treat that person fairly. Like, you can't treat that person unfairly just because your personalities don't mesh. Like, I mean, you could, but that means you're probably a shitty person.
Right.
But, in the same sense as the employer or boss in that situation, you have to think about that. Like, all right, is this employee, like, their personality just not like mesh with me? Are they actually doing something wrong, or am I just an asshole to them? I don't know. Do some gut check.
Do you guys call that peer audit or self audit?
What'd Tony call it that one day? Was with
self-appraisal?
Yeah,
self-appraisal.
Being honest with your self-appraisal.
That shit's epic, man.
Yeah, I was like, it's really good.
Yeah, it's very valid.
We don't do that enough.
We don't, and I think it's almost a daily thing. I mean, that you should consider, at least, least waking up and starting your day is how am I going to do this, and maybe reflect on the previous day.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me a little bit about, I brought it up on here, that 24-hour clone principle.
Oh yeah. I like
Yeah.
that's a neat idea.
Did you hear about that one? It's the idea that like you've got 24 hours to like learn something or be better, or like just better in general. Because at the end of that 24-hour day, you have to like battle yourself. And so if it's physical, like you better got a little bit stronger, learn some new move at jiu-jitsu. If it's mental, like you better learn a new move. So if you have to play them in chess, but basically like you're beating yourself every single day because you're bettering yourself every day.
Yeah, which version of you is winning at the end of the day?
That's an ultimate question.
It's baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Moving forward with baby steps.
Yeah, 'cause sometimes you might lose to the new you, might lose to the old you that day. But
It happens.
Yeah.
But you got to lose to grow sometimes.
Yeah, one step back. Okay, it sucks. But are you going to make 2 steps forward next time? Because then you still
Bro, you quoting some Paul Abdul here. What are you doing?
I don't know that. Everybody knows that saying. Damn it, I don't know that song now. I'd sing it for you. I don't know it. But that's the whole idea. Like, yeah, sometimes it sucks, like moving backwards. But at the end of the day, at the end of the week, year, whatever is it, did you make progress in moving forward? I heard Dr. Phil talk about that one time.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I always thought Dr. Phil was kind of because he had that like TV show. He's just kind of like, okay, Montel, like relax. But I heard him talk about that. Like he's had a lot of patience, and his greatest piece of advice to anybody would be just do the best like you can day by day. Just little tiny things. Even if it's one little tiny thing, if you can make one step forward, and if you consistently do that, you have to look at that. You have to review what you've done on like a yearly or long-term basis. Because if you make those little tiny steps, it doesn't seem like much. But then you look 6 months ago, a year ago,
Those are huge steps.
2 years ago, and you can go, oh, wow, look how far I've came. But it's hard because day by day, week by week, it doesn't seem like you're going that far. It doesn't seem like you're making that much progress. But then if you just have consistency and stick with it, you can look back at a year and go, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, look where we were at a year ago.
I think a lot of people, just humans are so infatuated with instant results. We're always looking for, like, my son, for instance, goes to the gym, comes home, and he's just like,
yep, swole.
bro, it doesn't happen in an hour.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's how we do. And it's easy for us to give up because we don't get instant results, so it's like, oh, well, I'm not any better today than I was yesterday. So that didn't work. I'm just going to keep being me, and some people get stuck in that, I guess. I don't know.
Like your golf game.
Yeah. Had to bring that up, huh?
Yeah. Sorry, I had to fuck with you.
It wasn't the greatest.
It's better than it was 3 years ago, though.
That's true.
Yeah,
Baby steps, man.
yeah.
Baby steps.
Yeah, today was the first time that I played since last winter. So it's still winter, but we did it inside. But it was like
What happened was you got in my head yesterday, and you're like, "Oh yeah, you better stretch out, man."
Well, that's why I texted him. I was like, "I hope," because I got everything running, and like I took a couple swings and I did it, and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "You're in trouble." I was like, "I still got it," and I was like, "I hope you're stretching out tonight so you don't throw out your back." And he's like, "Hey, man, like, screw you." Good point, though. Like, because I
Excellent point.
yeah,
I got in the shower this morning. I'm like, man,
yeah, move a little
yeah,
bit,
loosen up.
Yeah, well, I did. Like, I got everything set up the other day, and I was like, I went to swing my golf club. I was like, I am for sure pulling something because I haven't done this in a year, and I'm just gonna go for it. No warm up. I'm just gonna like end up breaking something for sure. I feel good though. I'm good, solid.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
I kind of missed it a little bit.
It's so hard, and I think that's one of those things where like even kind of connected to what discussion we're having. It's like one of those things where you don't, once you start getting good at something or once you start learning about it and it's like, oh, and then it starts clicking like, okay, now this is interesting because now I learned a little bit more about it. And then the more you learn about it, the more you realize how, if it's something you find interesting, obviously some things are like, I don't care to learn more about how to, crochet or whatever. Whatever it is. But
It's a
like,
skill you got to put time and effort into.
and
for
you
sure.
once you get good at it, and this is the conversation. Speaking of the kids, this is the conversation that we struggle with our kid a lot. Is like the kids want instant gratification. They want to be good at it. Like you want to pick up a baseball bat and be able to hit a home run.
Mhm.
Why can't I hit a fucking home run, Dad? Well, because this is the third time you've ever held a baseball bat.
Because you've never done it before.
Yeah, because you've never done it before, and it's like it sucks. But you have to try to find enjoyment in the learning process, because if you don't, everything in life is going to suck. Because you have to learn how to do something, eventually. I actually read a little blurb the other day. I have no idea how true it was, but it was something like the average toddler falls like it's like 5 times a minute when they're learning how to walk. Like, well, now you don't do that anymore because you learned how to walk, and walking can be pretty enjoyable. You can go places and do things.
Right.
Like you obviously at 35, if I'm falling 5 times every minute when I'm walking,
That's a good night.
yeah, I was gonna say I probably had too much to drink.
That's a good night.
But I wouldn't. I
That's awesome.
wouldn't want to go through life that way. You know what I mean? Because it's like you learn how to do something, and as you learn how to do it, you realize, oh, this is really beneficial, and like this is fun and enjoyable. But then we so quickly forget the struggle and the enjoyment that we've had through that, and it's just, well, I do this now. I take it for granted. Like this is just, I can do this. But as a kid, you're like, well, I want to be able to do that. Well, you got to struggle. You got to learn. You got to take those 2 steps forward and 1 step back, Tony. It's difficult. So it's like people like new things are scary because you're like, well, I don't know how to do that. Especially when you get older, you're like, man, that's what I find so interesting about, especially like we've talked to a handful of people, and having you on here, like after 30 years or 35 years or whatever it is, like, or these people that like start new businesses at like 60. It's like, whoa, more power to you. Like you got all that way and still had enough juice in you to go, you know what? I'm going to change my life around and I'm going to start something new. Like, that's awesome.
That's
Because
impressive.
it's not easy to do.
No.
Especially as you get older, you're like, man, I don't want to start fresh.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a fear a lot of people have of leaving a career that they've been at for a long time. Like, even if it's a kind of an equal step to a new company or something like that, you're like, man, I gotta start all over. Like, that's scary. Like, what if it's,
What is it about that scenario that you think people hold on to? Is it just the familiarity? Is it just afraid of change? Like, because I've seen people like, what is it that you're holding on that you're afraid to do? And I was that person. Don't get me wrong. I was that person. Honest to God, if it wasn't for my wife, there's a lot of things I probably wouldn't have been pushed to and done. But looking back on it now is, that's what she always asks me. What are you afraid of? I'm like, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't really know. But there are situations where people are like, yeah, I don't know. What are you afraid of, man? Like, it's the same job. It's just somewhere else. Like, what's there to be? Wow, I got all that time in, and it goes away. And it's like, well, are you happy there? Do you want to be there? Like, you're just willing to throw more time away? Like,
yeah.
You got to want to do something,
Yeah, I think for a lot of people too, it ties into, it's the safety factor of it. It's that security that you have.
There's those words.
Yeah, security. It's
Yeah.
that you're secure. You got your blanket. You're nice. You got your pacifier. This is comfortable and warm. And this is where, because I know this. It's not unfamiliar to me.
Right.
Like, I'm there. But I think I wonder how much of it ties into, like the financial, temperature of people through that age, because like it's one of those things where you don't have any money, like we talked about as a kid. You learn, oh, I can make money. So then it's like, okay, this is cool. And then you start making just enough money to rack up a bunch of bills. Buy a house, a car, you have some kids.
And you got to keep that momentum going.
And then the only thing that's really saving you is you have this security of, well, I have this job that I've built all this on top of. And now you want me to not have that specific job that I've built all of this on top of? Especially if, like, I think I saw the other day, it was like, was it 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck? So like,
that's probably higher than that.
Yeah, I think, and it was something like, I can't remember the one thing I saw, and it was surprising that, what was it? I think it was like even a higher percentage of, what was it, 30 and younger have $1,000, have a net worth of $1,000, a positive $1,000. And I'm like, hell, I thought it was a lot worse than that. Like, because you figure you buy a house and you buy a car and you're paying payments on those, and you don't have a bunch of money in the bank, your net worth is negative, whatever you owe.
right.
You know, you don't have any net worth. So
Yeah.
like for the average, you know, for I think it was like 20% of like 30-year-olds have an average net worth of like $1,000. I'm like, that's not too bad, because most of the
That's
30
positive.
most of the 30-year-olds I know have a negative net worth.
Yeah.
So it's like you get stuck in that negative net worth, and your job is your security. You're like,
You fight to survive.
yeah, it's like, I'm just fighting to survive. So it's like, it's scary for a lot of people, and then you throw in some of those, well, I want the new car. Well, I want the $300,000 house that I can barely afford,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, it's nice and I can show it off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, so you see how people get, then they're 35 years old going, fuck, I hate my job. I've worked here for 10 years, but, oh, we're $300,000, $400,000 in debt. I can't just go start a company and take more debt out. So I think part of it's that, but some people are just, I don't know, they just want to go climb trees for 40 years.
You know, and I think there's a part of me that has that, you know, with Erin, that she was running her businesses, you know, and she had the safety blanket was me, you know, because I had a stable job and everything, and you know, and it's the same thing. She went back to work to carry insurance on us and stuff so
Right.
that I could go do this. And I guess so I'm not really too much different than that, because I have that safety blanket, you know, and if she was to say, you know, well, I'm going to go start this company while you're starting this company, that would set into me, and I would be like, okay, but you know,
What happens if our kid falls off the lawnmower going on the road at 50 miles an hour?
because he will,
Because he
and he better have a damn helmet on.
Yeah. But I think to that though, I think there's some people like myself personally, like I have no idea. Like if even now, like I said, I have no idea if someone was like, if you had a dream job, what would it be?
Couldn't tell you.
I have got a damn clue. My best guess is this. Someone wanted to pay me $200 million like they do Rogan. Like I'd do this.
Which is crazy, because if somebody would ask you that probably 10 years ago,
never.
I don't think that would have been your answer.
You want to record me on a microphone and
You want me to talk to
camera?
people?
Yeah, on camera. The fuck the right off. Like no way.
You want me to talk to people I don't know?
Yeah, there's no way I would have done that. But that's like, some people like, I'm okay. Some people are okay with just going to work. It's like, you know what? I found a career job for a company that treats me decent. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't know what I would
Provides
love.
what I need.
Yeah, it provides what I need. Like, and I'm not all that upset about it, because I've had those jobs where you wake up and you're like, fuck, I gotta go to that place again every day. Fuck, I don't want to go to work. But so some people find that job where, at least for me, it was like, well, I gotta go to work. But that's the most upset thing about going to work, is that I have to go to work. You know, not everybody can just sit around. And
But you have to get out of bed and do something.
Yeah, like I got to go to work and make money. Okay, I guess, but it's not like the job. Some people have those careers that it's like, yeah, I don't really have a particular passion that I could do for a career, but this isn't bad, and then it affords me the opportunity to do this. So
what is your dream job?
I have no damn clue. I mean, if someone wants to start, advertising on the podcast and paying us money to do this, then this would be it. But no, it's just, I have no idea. I don't know.
What's your dream job, Tony?
I'd say I'm pretty close to it right now in terms of not the actual jobs themselves, but being able to create these businesses and create other opportunities for people and build relationships. And I think it's just kind of that newness of, you don't really know exactly what you're going to get into that day, or what you're going to see, or, like it's pretty much daily where, a patient comes in and I don't know what to expect. Like I have an idea why they're there, or Corey will call me and he'll be like, hey dude, we just got something else. Like this popped up and we got this other contractor. Here's an obstacle we're facing, or here's something. It's always just something different. So I love that aspect of all the different things I have my hand in. If it was just one particular job that I've never done or never really pursued, I always like the idea of doing buying an amphibious plane and
Running cocaine?
Bush, no, not that.
Oh.
That's the
Because that mustache could run
that's
some
hard.
serious cocaine.
Yeah.
Probably it'd still have some cocaine in it if I did some cocaine. No, but doing like bush medicine. And so we're really kind of flying out to some different remote spots, like out in Alaska, out wherever. And then if I wasn't doing that, dropping like hunters off as well. But kind of having that amphibious plane to get into remote spots.
I could totally see you
I've
doing
never,
that, man.
I've never even heard of a more Tony job. Flying into
That
the
is
bush
him
on an
to a
amphibious
T,
plane,
man.
providing medicine to.
So I'm a people.
You got to
person
dress
too,
for the job,
so,
man. You're on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's
You
do
got to
it.
dress for the job you want.
Start a company.
There you go.
Get the pilot's license.
Yeah.
Do it. I could see. I just can see you doing that. That's wild. That's
I'll send you pictures. I'll be with like different tribes.
Mustache your location.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's funny.
That's awesome, man. So basically, you're almost a badass. Is that what you're saying? Because that's
No.
what I heard.
No, not even close.
No, he's there.
Not even
Pretty close to your dream.
Yeah.
I'm pretty close to do this. So it's not, yeah, just a badass. You need your plane, and you're golden.
The plane, hopefully the plane's coming. So that's something that Corey and I have talked about before. And I would like to get the pilot's license. And I don't know, the ability to kind of fly and travel and do some of that stuff. And I like it. So I like operating machinery though as well. So it'd be a fun skill set to have.
That's awesome, man. That'd be really cool.
That would be neat. Flying planes. And
So have you flown at all, or
No, I've never,
never even messed with it, huh?
mm-mm.
it can't be that hard.
I mean, it really can't.
An
I
airplane,
mean,
just like a normal, like especially like just a little single engine or like a dual engine.
it's like driving,
plane.
man. You just have to know how. And I think
Yeah.
I think a lot of the struggle with flying, and I don't know, I've never done it. I've talked to a lot of people that do, is communications. Knowing the traffic in the air is
Yeah.
harder than
because there's not roads
flying the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are roads.
Well, in a sense, yeah.
But I was just talking to, it's funny this came up, but one of my customers, I call him Captain Crayley, but he's a pilot for United. And I was talking to him and I'm like, well, you guys don't really fly the planes, right? Like computer flies them. He's like, to a point, he said, we are constantly calculating,
Yeah.
weight, fuel, the air changes. You got to know whether to go up or go down and get on those air highways. You got to know where those are, how to get on them. And, you're flying 16 hours and you have what you have, so you have to use that. If
Yeah.
you have to divert because you miscalculated, you're losing money.
True.
And nobody likes to lose money. He's like, so I'm paid as a pilot, yes, but I'm paid to calculate all that, to know that when I leave the ground, that I can get to my destination in 16 hours with no faults. And he said, the wind, the air, everything messes with that, and you have to know how to counter it. And that's what it is to be a pilot. And I was like, that's really cool,
Yeah, that
man.
makes sense.
I never thought beyond, clear for takeoff,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Because if you only have so much fuel, like pulling over because you pulling on the side of the highway because you miscalculated something, it's a little different when you're in an airplane.
Yeah, and he was telling me how to fly. I'm not good with the world maps, but
we got a globe here. You
Yeah.
can use that for assistance.
yeah, but I wouldn't know what he was talking about to even find it. But he had to fly over the stands. Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and all that. And he was talking about having to divert in that area if he had
airspace
to.
and-
And he's like, it's crazy, man. He said, because if you don't get permission and you got to land, you're just up there spinning in circles and you're burning fuel. So then you get to a point where you have to land.
Yeah.
And he's like, you got to be approved to land. And he's like, it's crazy, man. He's like, but I've had situations where I've been stuck in the air, for 8 or 9 hours just in circles.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, that is crazy. He's like, and you got all those people on board, but yeah, that's awesome, man. I've always wanted to, I could never see myself flying a plane. I just flew in a plane for the first time in September of last year
Okay.
at 33 years old. Never been in a plane. My kids are like, why have you never flown? I'm like, never had to.
Yeah.
As a kid when we traveled in a car.
True.
We went to Key West, drove all the way to Key West, and never flew in a plane. At that time, it was just with gas and everything, it was just cheaper to drive,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome.
I've only been in a commercial plane once.
Really?
I've flown a ton of times, but I've only been in a commercial plane once.
I will tell you, flying in a helicopter is what made me go, yeah, I'll fly in a plane because I'm terrified of heights.
Sure.
Ironically. But yeah, I was scared shitless the first time I got in a helicopter, but I'm like, oh, this is my job and I got to do it. And I mean, something happens, at least Fred's with me. So, I went at it. And as soon as I got off the ground, I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, well, it's also one of those things too, where like, I'm not like, especially if you're not flying the plane or the helicopter or whatever it is, it's one of those situations where once you're off, well,
it is
can't do nothing about it now. So no reason to worry about
There's
it.
no better time to say it is what it is than that time.
Yeah.
Because it is what it is.
Yeah, I can't do nothing. There's no
You either
parachutes.
enjoy it or you sweat the whole time. I mean, this is what I'm doing, so I'm in the air. My wife, on the other hand, has flown many times. She's terrified of it. I got in an airplane and we took off, and I'm like, that's nothing.
Yeah.
And when we land, she cries almost every time she lands. It just freaks her out. She just can't get over it. Just the boom landing. I'm like, this thing's a Cadillac.
Right.
Go spend 3 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours in a helicopter.
Hanging
This
out the
is
side.
nothing. Yeah, this is nothing, man.
Well, that's what killed me the one and only time I flew commercially. Well, the first time, I guess, because we had to fly back, so I've flown twice commercially, technically. But
Me too.
yeah, we landed and everyone's like cheering. I'm like, wait a minute. Wasn't this what was supposed to happen?
This isn't what was supposed to happen? Like,
did somebody not tell me we were going to crash this whole time? Like, what the fuck? Yeah,
that is the thing, though. They cheer when you land.
Yeah, I'm like, I get it. Like, I appreciate it. Thanks. But I thought that's what the plan was the whole time. Like,
I wasn't aware this was like a 50-50 shot. Like,
yeah.
I thought the captain had this one,
I would have thought through this a little differently.
Like, doesn't this guy do this for a living? Like, shouldn't we land? Like,
yeah.
But that's the thing, man.
People get scared.
It
can be
anything could
nervous.
happen,
Yeah.
So to land is a blessing.
Yeah. Back
always-
on solid ground.
Always blown my mind that you take something that heavy and put it in the air, and then you can take something triple times, quadruple times as heavy, and it floats in the water. It's always been mind blowing.
Yes, and you make it out of metal. Let's take this giant chunk of metal, this massive, huge chunk of metal,
And put it in water.
and then put a bunch of heavy stuff on it. Like, what? Wait a minute. Like, how does this work?
Doesn't even make sense, Tony.
Laws of buoyancy or something. I don't think that's probably what it's called. There's probably some definition or.
Those are two things where you look back and go, humans are awesome. Because
And the flying one happened in the last 100 years. Out of all the thousands of years we've been around, however many you believe, tens of thousands of years, and we've only supposedly only been able to fly for the last 100.
it's got to be more than that.
1920s. Yeah, 100 years. Wright brothers, Kitty Hawk, Kill Devil Hills.
Actually, the first flight was in Ohio.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
I don't think it was.
It was.
Well,
It's
Cass-
statistically, it's tracked and traced in North Carolina, but it happened in Ohio.
I don't know.
The
about
first
that.
flight was in Ohio.
I don't know.
This
about
is
that.
what I've been told.
I don't think they're from Ohio.
They were from Ohio.
Orville
It happened in
Wilbur from
Ohio,
Ohio.
but North Carolina got the credit for it because it was more pleasing than flying in Ohio.
Maybe it's. I don't know. I thought it was.
So they
Kill-
recorded it out there. Because there's a Wright Brothers Museum in Ohio, I think.
Yeah,
right?
there is. But I thought it was just because they were like from here.
I'm pretty sure the first actual flight of that whole scenario actually took place in Ohio. Like recordable.
Yeah. Well, either way, it was still only 100 years ago.
That's crazy to think of.
Yeah, 100 years. That's why I love this. One of our guests got us that. I don't know if you've seen that. I think I'll show you that map, the histo map on the door there.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, so that's like the general power of civilizations throughout the last, I think, 4,000 years.
It's literally blowing my mind.
And that's just 4,000 years. And the United States is all the way on the very, very bottom left. It's a little blue sliver. That's the United States. And so that's just I think 4,000. It's 2,000 after and 2,000 before. So it's 4,000 years. That's it. 4,000 years isn't that long as far as humans go. Like, we've been around for a while.
And that's like the progression of
So the very bottom,
the human race?
It's basically the power that that like entity or country has held throughout that time period. So like you can see like that's how much power like and influence over the world that
And where are we?
all the way down at the very bottom left. You see the very bottom left, the blue section.
The little
it looks
blue
kind of like
section?
a weird triangle.
Yeah.
That's us. That's the United States.
And we don't have any more.
that's where it stops. So the bottom is now, and the top is 2000 BC. So like you can see like that right side, that red side, that's constant all the way down.
Yeah.
China.
Of course.
Yeah, they've been around a while.
Yeah.
So you think?
And they do amazing things, really.
Oh yeah, no, they're innovative. But that's what I'm saying. Like in 100 years ago, which is basically a blip on that map, was when we started flying.
So we stopped at like fast food. And that was it.
Yeah, like well, we
Put
still
a burger in a wrapper.
Yeah,
We're done.
Plane, boom, America. You're welcome.
Yeah. Cheeseburger in a plane.
Yeah, yeah. But it's pretty wild to like think about like, and then how long I had this conversation with my daughter was looking at the other day, and she was talking about time and whatnot. And I said, look at this. I said, this is the United States because she's learning history in school. So we're talking about history. Like she learned about the War of 1812, and I think they're starting to get into the Civil War. I think so. Like I was like, all the things that you've learned the past couple of years that you come home and talk about this war and this, the Pilgrims and Christopher Columbus and all these different colonizers and stuff coming over. All this stuff you learned the past couple of years in school. She's like, yeah. I said it fits into a section that's about a quarter of an inch on that map. That's where it's at. And that's the United States. I said, you know how tall this map would be I said, the pyramids? She was like, in Egypt? She's like, yeah. I said, well, if you go by the youngest that they think they are is 6 to 8,000 years old. So at the very youngest, the pyramids were created 4 times, or no, like 3 times that height of that map right there. I said, but some people believe they were built like 20,000 years ago. So that would be like 10 times the height of that. And you think about all that human history, and we're so concerned about this little, like 100 years seems so far and so long ago to us that we just kind of forget about everything that's ever happened. It's like, your mind just goes, huh? What? Oh.
Yeah, you're not kidding, man. That's a total Fred map, though.
Yeah, I love it. That's pretty neat. Like putting that all.
Where'd you even find that?
Steve,
you had to stumble across. Like you didn't go look for one.
No. Steve, one of our guests got it for us.
Oh, yeah.
Because he had seen it at one point and he got it printed out and laminated for us. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's really neat to kind of try to put everything into perspective. And then you go, all right, 100 years ago was flying. Oh, that's like doesn't even register on that map.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And to think about the technology.
That's really cool, man.
And throughout all that, they never had phones or technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I wonder, like, if you take that and you look at
technology destroys.
Right. Yeah, true. But you take that and if we don't blow each other up or, I know I saw there was a solar flare the other day, or a coronal ejection, or whatever. And it was like, ended up shooting out into space. It was like, what was it, like 2 billion miles or I don't know, some crazy amount. But I was like, how the hell did I not hear about this? Because that's pretty massive.
Yeah.
It happened while we were on the other side of the earth, and it happened on the opposite side of the sun. Or not the other side of the earth, while we were on the other side of the sun. Like when the earth was just happened to be on the opposite side. And I was like, if we were if we were in a path of that, a giant solar flare, he said, forget technology. We're all toast. It just wipes everything out. At least technology goes. And then
we shot it. Are you saying we shot a rocket?
No, we didn't shoot a rocket. It was just a solar flare.
Oh, I got you.
That happened just incidentally. So it's like,
you know what? I did hear that because my son said something. Like, did you know there was a giant asteroid that's like going to smash the Earth and it just missed us? And I was like,
well, that happens
watching
almost
Armageddon, dude.
That shit happens like almost every year.
That shit up.
That shit happens almost every year. That we come within quote close to something hitting us. Like you'd be surprised.
How does it not happen?
It doesn't. Just hasn't yet. It just hasn't happened that we've come within, like that we haven't had something. What was the last one? It was was it Tunguska? There was a meteor or whatever that fell over Russia. I want to say it was like 40 or 50 years ago, and it blew up. I want to say a few hundred or a couple. It was like a mile or above the land before it like actually hit. Like coming through the atmosphere, it just started burning up and. Well, it caused this massive explosion over Russia and like leveled forests. And it was like, I want to say it was an asteroid or whatever it was, like a couple, like it was like 100 yards wide or something like that. Or so, maybe even not that big. But like, as far as asteroids go, a couple 100 feet, it's not that big. and it just leveled shit. It didn't even hit the ground.
830 square miles.
Oh,
Estimated flattened 8 million trees.
and that's that Tunguska.
Tunguska, yeah.
Yeah, how big was? You said it was 800 feet.
And that's when they hit.
It didn't even hit. It exploded before it impacted the ground.
This was in 1908.
1908. Okay, so it was 100 years ago. But like nothing like that has ever like happened yet. But if you have something that comes in, it's like a mile wide asteroid.
I wouldn't worry until Bruce Willis and Steve Buscemi were dead, and then we should probably worry.
Because we wouldn't be able to figure it out. You got
That's
a
right.
point.
As long as Bruce Willis is around, we'll be fine. He dies, we need to worry.
That's what we need to worry.
Also, the first flight
got Tony.
was North Carolina.
See?
The what?
Yeah.
First flight. Kill Devil Hills, right?
It was just outside of Kitty Hawk, but it was.
It's
I think
yeah,
they called
yeah,
it
yeah.
Kill Devil Hills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It only lasted about 12 seconds, but that's what they considered.
Yeah. See?
You know that because we just watched a documentary on that with Kai.
I wondered why they called me the Wright brother.
Well, I did a
Only lasting 12 seconds.
Hey, but if it's 12 seconds that they haven't experienced before.
Boom.
Boom.
Goes the dynamite.
Yeah. No, I think I did a report on them in like high school or something like that too.
There's an Ohio flight that recorded before Kitty Hawk. I'm telling you.
Okay. Well, we'll see if we can find
If
it.
not, my whole childhood was a lie.
Oh no. Sorry to just destroying childhoods here. Sorry, man. But yeah, I don't know. We need people out there doing crazy shit sometimes. Just trying to wing it. You need entrepreneurs doing the crazy, scary things. So others don't have to, and we can continue to progress. So I appreciate you doing scary things.
Yeah. It's definitely I never really thought
Never
of
scared
it.
you?
Yeah, I never really thought of it being because I was different than most people. It wasn't a decision I made and then I went and did it. I got put in a position where I can't afford to fail. I have to do this.
All right.
So in some ways, me being me, it was the best scenario because I probably wouldn't have done it otherwise. Because Aaron's been telling me for years, why don't you just do it yourself? Why don't you just go out and do it yourself? And I'm like, I need this, and it's like I don't have that, and then when I kind of had a decent start in the position that I got left in, and it wasn't easy, but it was doable.
Right.
So it was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just keep doing this, and the beauty of it is that it's mine and I can take it in any direction I want.
Right.
That's the cool thing. And failure's not an option, so there's really nothing to be afraid of.
Well, there you go.
Right?
Sometimes you can't fail.
You might dial back, but you can't. You just, whether it's me and a chain, I still do it, never not do it. And the greatest thing about tree work is you'll never not have a job.
There's always trees. Yeah, especially when storms roll through. Someone's tree falls on a house. Someone needs to do it. Someone's got to clean it up
Yeah.
and not die in the process. But yeah, sometimes you just got to do it. See, that's like opposite me. Like I just never had the desire to start a business.
Really? You did.
I know. Right.
And another one.
Yeah. I just never had desire. Like I don't
For
like
somebody that doesn't have a desire to start businesses, you should
Yeah, but
start
this isn't-
businesses.
Yeah, but this isn't technically a business because it doesn't have any revenue. So
Yet.
yeah.
Yet.
But the only reason I started it was because I was like, man, if I start putting videos and stuff out there, like, and someone gets pissed off at me, I need an LLC so they can just take the company and hopefully not take my livelihood along with it.
Vis-a-vis started a business.
Yeah, but some people, it's as long as you're happy doing what you're doing, but sometimes you're not happy because you're not doing what you should be doing. You know it.
I could really see why you enjoy this, though. It's really cool. Like I could see having different people down here and just shooting the shit, and it's great.
Well, it's really neat learning about people and what drives them and how they got to where they're at. And sometimes we just get drunk and talk shit too. That happens.
I kind of, as little as it may be, it's huge to me because it's it feels good to somebody, to look at you and be like, oh, you started a business. That's not an easy thing to do, And to me, I'm like over here just trying to get it done, you know.
Yeah.
And then other people see it and they're like, oh man, that's really cool, you know. And everybody says that, and it's like, yeah, it's all right, you know. I mean, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, but you have to realize a lot of people don't have the intestinal fortitude to be able to do that, to be able to quit your, like we talked about, the safety. Like and some people don't have the opportunity. You know what? Like I get it. Like if you've already made the decisions in your life and you're $300,000 in debt and you're like, oh, I'm going to quit my, you know, $200,000 a year job to go start, you know, a corner store that sells only potato chips and beer. Well,
It's a good store.
yeah, that's a great store, but are you going to be able to pay, like, take care of yourself and your family and your bills? Let's be a little realistic here. But
Come down to bourbon and chips.
yeah, but it's neat when people see people they can connect with in whatever fashion or form and go, man, I've always kind of wanted to start a business, or I've always kind of wanted to do that. Well, fuck, like, people out there that's doing it, you know,
I
to be
never
able to share.
I never wanted to.
Well, here you are.
I never wanted to be a tree guy, and all these things are just happening.
Yeah.
You know, it just
Well, then maybe it'll encourage
You-
other people to just go out there and just not worry about what they do and don't want to do and take some risks. And,
Yeah.
and put some work and effort into it.
maybe. I mean, there's definitely work and effort that has to go into it. That's for sure. And the coolest thing is a lot of the people that I've surrounded myself with that are other tree owners, and the guy that's behind my shop, he owns a tree company called Out on a Limb. Super awesome. They're all awesome. You know, if you ever need anything, let me know. You know, I don't know if that's just something they're saying or if they really mean it, but they don't forget where they came from.
Right.
You know, when I talked to Al, and you know, yeah, we were talking the other day. He's like, yeah, I remember when I started, man, and he was talking about the garage door, you know, and he's like, yeah, those things used to sit on you and boil you up, you know. He said, but as time goes on, you just learn to let them just roll off your back because it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Things are always gonna happen. It's how you drive to overcome the things that happen, you know, and how you move forward. And you have to go in understanding that people are human regardless of what you do, and stuff does happen. You know, and you know, even some of the, I don't know who you would consider most important, but everything happens to everyone at some point in time. Nobody's perfect, you know, so you're going to have those mess ups, you're going to have those screw ups, and it's how you deal with them, it's how you grow with them, and it's how you keep moving forward. And that's all you can do.
Yeah, go out and take a chance. Well said. On that note, because that sounds like a fantastic way to end this. Take the chance. Where people find you? I know you have a website and Facebook.
Yeah,
What's
it's
the
like-
best way to get a hold of you if people need some tree work done?
It's rawtreeserve.com, SERV,
So I
not the
think-
full
Is
service.
that pulled up there?
And yeah, we have Instagram.
Are you on the grams too?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My wife runs all that. I don't know how to use Instagram. I've used it a couple of times just to make like a video or something, but I'm like, nah.
Well, it's weird because like most of
I'm
the stuff,
really terrible about that.
most of the stuff that I do, like for the like most of the stuff the show does, it's like it's Instagram driven. Like that's kind of the core, and then it kind of filters out to other stuff. But everyone,
I've realized that a lot of things that go into Facebook are all from Instagram, you know?
well, because they just combined in the last like year, year or so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Facebook bought Instagram like a year or two ago or something like that.
Okay. I wondered how that connection was.
Yeah,
was
so now
coming
they're
together.
connected. Yeah, there she is, rawtreeserv.com. Raw Tree
Yeah.
Serve.
I like your guys' logo.
That's
like
pretty
that?
cool.
That's
yeah, it's
cool.
neat.
My wife designed it.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, so there, find them on Facebook, on the grams. I'll link everything too in the show description, and
That logo kind of derived from ACRT a little bit,
I could see that. It's kind of it's a neat logo though.
but it's simple. It's if you see it, you know it.
Yeah,
You know, and that's kind of what that's the brand, I guess you would say,
yeah,
and just use that for. It's really cool to put on shirts. You know.
that's cool. It's a cool logo. I like it. Well, I'll make sure to link all the things so people can find you and
Cool,
get
man.
your trees taken care of or removed.
Stay out of my territory, Tony.
Thank you.
I don't
Thanks.
really have a territory.
Well, thanks for coming on, Caleb.
Yeah,
I
man. Thanks
appreciate
for
it,
having
man.
me. I
Good
really
hanging out with
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for joining us today. Remember, check out the website chronic-curiosity.com to join us at the forum, have some fun, interaction, pick you up a comfy t-shirt, or if you just want to support the show and donate, all that is on the website as well. Thank you. Until next time. See ya.